Hey YouTube, RicoKnows here. Shout out to you guys. Haven't done a live stream in a while. Just decided to do one today because I saw a topic I thought we could have a rather long discussion on, and I wanted to sit down and chop it up with you guys. So sorry you guys haven't seen me. I got a lot of things going on in real life. You guys can see I don't have the banners behind me. I have all kinds of stuff going on. I had one guy write to me and say, Rico, your show looks cheap. You look low budget. I'm like, bro, everything's a profit. Everything's great. I'm not worried about a damn thing. I'm good. What I care about is accuracy of the content. What I care about is accuracy of what I'm saying. Never forget that, okay? Shout out to me. I do have somewhere to be in about 2 weeks. I will be scouting the top 100 players in the country. I'm going to be at the Next Gen Camp. It's here in Georgia. It's June 19th. It's run by a couple of guys from the NFL. Some other guys who just are affiliated with different college teams and whatnot. But they picked me to be, I'm invited as a member of the coaching staff / media. I will be there to meet the players. And shout out to a lot of the young players that have reached out to me on Twitter and said, Rico, I'm going to be at the camp. I'm going to start doing high school film reviews of some of you guys and give you guys some shine. And I can't wait to meet a lot of the players. That being said, I'm on Twitter. I'm there every day. And I'm going through the information on Twitter. And I know a lot of people will see information and think it is official. Like this right here says PFF College, Pro Football Focus, and they're telling you who the top receiving cores in college football are. And it's via Max Chadwick. Now, I don't know Max. Maybe I'll meet him one day. I don't know who he is. But I can tell you something about Max. He's ridiculous. He's outrageous. He made a list of the top receiving cores in America, and it just looks like a list of, I don't know, nonsense. This doesn't move me in the slightest. I don't think he knows all the receivers. I think he might know some of the rankings on 3 or 24/7 gave some of these guys, but I don't think he's watched all these guys. I don't think individually Max Chadwick has watched all these players. There's just no way. Because if you did watch the players, you wouldn't have this conclusion. You wouldn't feel this way about these wide receiver rooms. Now, it's subjective at the top. I get it. And you guys know my videos. I don't sit here and only talk about the most popular receivers, the most popular teams, the most popular. I don't do that. So I'm not sitting here trying to just have this ESPN type debate where they just talk about, you know, who's the best player in basketball? Is it Kyrie Irving or is it so? Like, no one gives a shit, bro. Stop talking about the same stuff every single day. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this video to talk about the best wide receiver cores in America, in every conference, on every team. And while we go, I will be taking notes on my other monitor over here, so I'll stop from time to time, and we'll identify the top 10 while we do this, okay? Because they do have this top 10 here, and you guys see it. It's Oregon, Ole Miss, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas, Missouri, Miami, Colorado, LSU, and Oklahoma. The news flash for some of you, to have a top wide receiver room, you need to have a top quarterback because he needs to get the ball to those wide receivers. So that's kind of how that works. But there are some wide receivers out there that are undeniable. There are certain wide receiver rooms you can't ignore. And even if you're one wide receiver deep, you can be one of the best wide receiver rooms in America. I promise you. You put one blue chip, first round draft pick wide receiver on a team, and their wide receiver core goes through the roof. It really does. And when you look at these teams, I don't think they really know who the wide receivers are. I think they're based on recruiter rankings, hype, maybe something of that nature, but I don't think they've really looked into it. No, not a chance. What's good? Shout out to the chat. What up, Lewis Henton? Good to see you, bruh. Roll Tide Roll. Hardwick is here. Daniel's here. And Evan Kramer says, just looking at this at a glance, I'd say Arizona is probably missing just because of T-Mac. Yeah. T-Mac is far better than anything LSU has. LSU doesn't belong on this list. It's laughable. And we'll get into it. I think, for me, my number 1 and 2 teams are severely underrated on this list. But instead of just attacking the list for what it is, let's go look at all the teams. You guys can learn about all the teams in college football. if you're watching the show, thank you guys for being here. We will go down in alphabetical order. Now, I've zoomed in a little bit so you guys can see it. And Our Lads is notorious for ads. If you guys don't know, Our Lads lets you see depth charts. Now, full disclosure, Our Lads is not accurate. People think it's accurate. People think it's the source for the most accurate rosters, and it typically is, but it's still not accurate. It's very inaccurate all the time. So when you go look at top receiver cores in America, Air Force is obviously not on the list whatsoever. If I go to Akron has surprisingly had some good wide receivers as of late. They just don't have the quarterbacks to get them there. Now they have Taj Bullock, that's a Virginia Tech transfer. They have Ben Finley, that's the North Carolina State / Cal. To now Akron transfer. So they do have two good quarterbacks. And wide receivers wise, you guys don't know Alex Adams, I'm assuming? Alex Adams, very good. Right? They just lost their best receiver. He just transferred to UConn. A little problematic with his behavior and whatnot. I'll talk about him when I get to UConn. But Alex Adams is an LSU transfer who's pretty damn good. But Akron, one of the better receiver rooms in the MAC, and it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't. They just don't have a good team. Right? Shout out to Joe Moorhead and the boys. Let's go to Alabama. Alabama, a lot of people are under the impression Alabama has one of the best receiver rooms in America. And I would say they're not bad. But I'm not in any hurry to write down Alabama as a top 10 wide receiver room. I'm not. I can write it, but we're going to move it out eventually. I mean, I'll write it. Let me just do this. In all fairness, I'll write it. I'll put Alabama right there. They're going to get past. Yes, they have Kendrick Law. He can play. Jeremy Bernard coming in from Washington in the spring game looked like the alpha male, and that's bad news for you because every team he's ever been on, he was fourth string. You lost 5 wide receivers this offseason. You lost a wide receiver, Brooks going to, where did Ja'Cory go? Louisville. So you lost the receiver going to Louisville. You lost Isaiah Bond going to Texas. You lost your tight ends. I want to get into that. It's going to be problematic, but they still do have good players. Kobe Prentice is here, right? They have some young players like Ryan Williams. People are hopeful for a lot of these young players, and it's fine. It's just not top 10 in America. It's not bad. Something to be proud of. It's not top 10 in America. App State, terrible, and Joey Aguilar is a hell of a quarterback. Charles Wright showed up from Texas, thought he could start over him. He can't. Joey Aguilar can get in anywhere. By the way, Kanye Roberts, running back, one of the very best sophomore running backs in America, one of the most productive high school running backs nobody's ever heard of. Just be careful. Kanye Roberts is him. They're going to be running the rock at App State. Nothing's changed. Wide receivers, they really don't have anybody that sticks out to me. And I've watched every App State game. Arizona. You saw it. Evan Kramer mentioned it right away. When I look at Arizona, people need to understand, CR Lads doesn't even have Noah Fafita here. Arizona, for me, has a better wide receiver room than Alabama. And that's because they have a bona fide professional on the team. They have a guy who would have been a first-round draft pick right now. So they have an NFL wide receiver in T-Mac. So Arizona's there. They get Romello Murphy in the transfer portal. That was the leading wide receiver at ODU last year. So Old Dominion's leading wide receiver just transferred in, and he's the third option because they have Montana Lomanis Craig, MLC, coming back for another season, ready to contribute. This is a very big problem for you when you look at a guy like T-Mac who's been with Noah Fafita since they were like 13 years old. It's going to be great. Arizona has an incredible wide receiver room. They have a guy that could go out to the NFL right now and win Rookie of the Year, and he's in college. That's a very rare thing to have. It's almost like Ohio State last year with Marvin Harrison Jr. That's a 1,400-yard wide receiver, and it's probably going to be more. You got to remember this. He had 1,400 yards receiving last year, and Noah Fafita didn't start all the games. They were still fumbling around starting other quarterbacks. Shout out to Jaden DeLar. I'm just letting you know T-Mac is probably the best receiver in America. Sure, you can argue it. You can argue for some other guys, but there's no way you ignore that. He's better than anybody on Colorado. He's better than anybody at LSU. I'm looking at that chart below. He's better than every single wide receiver at Texas. He's better than every receiver at Georgia. Georgia doesn't belong at 4, just so we're clear. I don't even know if Georgia's a top 10 wide receiver room. I really don't. That's crazy talk. Man, while we're at it, Oregon's not number 1 for me. We'll get to it. Arizona's to be respected. T-Mac alone. Arizona State's wide receiver room is really good. People don't realize this. They're not bad. Okay, Troy coming in. He's a Texas transfer. Jake Smith, Texas USC transfer. Didn't work out. Stovall is a Colorado State transfer. Nevada transfer. Where is he from? Colorado State, Nevada. Look at that. I did both teams. So Colorado State, Nevada. And then you have Xavier Guillory. He's a transfer from Idaho State. And then Jordan Tyson was the best wide receiver at Colorado before Coach Prime showed up. He's a good player. Just young, injury prone, but he was, as a freshman, he's the only guy who showed up to play. That 1-11 team, that was the best player on the team. And he doesn't start at Arizona State. So I like Arizona State's wide receiver room. It's probably in the bottom half of the Big 12. It's probably in the bottom half, unfortunately. So it's not worth noting, but shout out to them and all their players. Let's go Arkansas. Tyron Broden, he's a 6'7" wide receiver transferred in from Bowling Green. Andrew Armstrong, an FCS guy, if I remember correctly. Satangna is little, and I don't think he should be in the 2 deep, or at least starting. I like Tesla. That's a Division II transfer. I like some of these other guys that are showing up. Jordan Anthony, obviously the speed demon from former Kentucky A&M, and now he's here. They just don't have it put together. If there's a weak point on Arkansas, it's definitely their receivers and one of the weakest wide receiver rooms in the SEC. But shout out to the guys. Arkansas State, hey, somebody's telling me they got Malik Hornsby at wide receiver. Cool, good for them. Good for them. They have a problem. They have 3 good quarterbacks. It's a good problem to have. And Cross can really play at running back. Shout out to Jalen Raynor. Raynor's a beast. One of the most underrated dual threat athletic quarterbacks in America. Arkansas State. Army, not even worth clicking on. We get to Auburn. Auburn lost all the receivers in the transfer portal, and obviously they tried to replace them all with the transfer portal. You got Robert Lewis coming in from Georgia State. He's a good player. KLS, big play Dre, Keandre Lambert-Smith from Penn State, leading receiver at Penn State. Nobody ever once thought Penn State was any good, not in their receiver room. Nobody's ever mentioned their receiver room for top 10, so it's not any good. And then you have a true freshman in Cam Coleman. People believe in him. Caleb Burton, a transfer from Ohio State last year. Sam Jackson, a transfer from everywhere, right? He was a former quarterback. Now he's coming to team back up with his old teammate Peyton Thorne here. This wide receiver room is bad. It's just not good. If you have a true freshman leading the way and hopeful, and it's just not good. Let me just leave it like that. It's just not very good. Auburn's not worth mentioning. We'll go to the next team, Ball State. Shout out to the MAC. They do have Ty Robinson. That's a transfer from Colorado. They do have a Colorado transfer. They have some guys, but it's nothing. Ball State's not good, and their quarterback plays worse, right? Samanza, true freshman last year. Was he a true freshman last year? Redshirt freshman. It's one I had him. I made a video about him. So he was the quarterback for Mikey Matthews at Mission Viejo. So I saw him in high school when I was watching tape. But either way, Ball State, anemic wide receiver room. Nothing too great there. Baylor. Terrible wide receiver room. Just a bunch of quality guys, but they're about 500 yards each. Right? So Monray Baldwin's the alpha male here. Jackson's also productive. Hawkins just came in from Texas State. It doesn't matter, man. These guys are just not quite where they need to be in the Big 12 to be competitive. And it's sad. Their running back room is nice. We know DeQuan Finn cannot throw. PFF will tell you he's a great quarterback, but we know, MVPs who watch games with me, we know he can't throw. So just keeping it real. I will go to the chat once I get, let's go through the B's, and then once I get to the C's, I'll go back to the chat. So get your questions in on the chat. I'll get to you on YouTube. If you're watching on TikTok, move over to YouTube, put a question in. I got you. Let's go to Boise State. Boise State obviously lost their best receiver in the transfer portal, and they're left with, Chase Penry here, transfer from Colorado. Chris Marshall bounced back from JUCO after being kicked out of Ole Miss, and A&M, former 5-star. I've talked to their player personnel guy. What's his name? Quez? Is it Quez? He's in my DMs, bro. I talked to the guy who does all the recruiting for Boise State. He likes his room. He likes his players. More power to him. I like Malachi Nelson. Let's see what he can do. But this whole team is going to be carried by their 2 running backs. Dubar and Genty are it. They are the bee's knees at running back. They're amazing. So they're not going to be throwing the ball that much and not dependent on their wide receiver room. It's not worth mentioning or writing down. Boston College just lost Joseph Griffin to the transfer portal. Lost a couple other guys, but your leading receiver is Bond. He's coming back. Jaden McGowan doesn't really move me like that. Neither does Bradley. I'm big on Jaden Skeet. No pause. I'm big on Jaden Skeet. I made a video about him as my hidden gem. I liked what I saw from him in the spring. Dino Tomlin, thanks for being here. But all in all, not that great of a wide receiver room, and the quarterback's never going to get it to them. I think Grayson James ends up starting at some point this year because he's more accurate as a thrower. I really do. Shout out to Duncanville's finest, former FIU quarterback who once threw for 4 yards on 12 attempts. You heard me, 4 yards on 12 attempts. We watched it happen. Season opener last year. FIU versus La Tech. Go look it up, y'all. We watched it in real time. It was insane. We were gambling on that. We were on La Tech. They ended up coming back and winning the game. It was a good time. Let's see here. Bowling Green. Bowling Green's best receiver is actually their tight end, Harold Fannin Jr. He's an NFL tight end. One of my favorites that nobody talks about. Another guy they have. Oh, where's the little dude? Oh, he's not here anymore. All right, so they got transfers. I need to go back and watch all their tape. I'll let you guys know. But as of right now, it's not worth talking about. They do have two good running backs. Patterson's a Florida kid, and Teron Stewart's actually really good when he's not injured. So we'll see what happens there. But their best receiving option is Harold Fannin. I would expect him to have over like 700 yards this year. So, yeah, pretty sure they're not going to be utilizing their wide receivers. They had a transfer last year. Man, what was his name? It's a beast, little dude. You know, guys, it's hard to keep all the names in my head as I go for every single player in America, but I try. Buffalo, not known for passing. You've seen some of their transfers leave, and it's all about their running backs. They just lost everybody in the transfer portal. I actually think, from my perspective, Buffalo's in bad shape next year. Yes, they just got back Sean Dolick, their star linebacker, just transferred back to the school after going to Utah State for the winter, but I think Buffalo's in trouble. They lost one of their star safeties to Syracuse. They lost a number of good players over the last couple of years. It just doesn't look good. It doesn't. They lost Washington, the running back. I'm not excited for this at all. No, not excited, y'all. Buffalo's going to be in trouble. Let's go. And we'll go to the chat after BYU. So, BYU, wide receivers. Chase Roberts is their leading receiver from last year. I'm going to tell you guys something. Keelan Marion, right here, this transfer from UConn, stud. Georgia kid, complete stud. Turn on the tape, that guy pops on tape. So I'm really excited for him. The fact that he's not starting should tell you that there's some talent ahead of him. But I like Marion and I like Chase Roberts as the only two guys at BYU we're talking about. Still, none of these guys are top 20 in the Big 12. Like, they're literally not top 20. There's three guys better than anybody they got on other teams. So it's not good. All right, let's go to the chat. Caleb Brooks says, thoughts on Eugene Wilson at Florida? Is he future first or second round talent? So Caleb Brooks, he's talking about Trey Wilson. First thing I'm going to say about Eugene Wilson III, call him Trey. I don't try to guess when people are first or second round talents. That's on the NFL to decide where they want to draft people. What I will say is he's probably one of the leading receivers at Florida. Florida's wide receiver room looks pretty decent, especially after the spring game and one of their late additions in Badger. So we'll see what happens. He looks good. Also, where do you think Florida's wide receiver room compares to the other SEC teams? Caleb Brook, when I get to Florida, they're at F. I just finished B. When I get to F, we'll make it happen. It might be a long show today. You never know. Good to see you, Rico. Got the day off today. Great way to start it with a live. Let's go. What up, Armin? Armin is an MVP. He's been an MVP for a year, or he already paid for the whole year. If you guys don't know, I offer an MVP package to all my gamblers out there. If you want to know who's going to be the winning teams week in and week out, if you want to know the futures bets you should be making right now, if you want to know who's winning every UFC fight, come be an MVP on Patreon or YouTube. Doesn't matter. Either one. Sign up for MVP. It's $25 a month, and I'll give you all the information. You'll go and win all your money. Shout out to Armin. He's won a ton of money. Most of the guys are winning. Our locks in the UFC are hitting at my locks are hitting at a 79.75%. I know that sounds like a pipe dream. I know it can't be real. It is real. I am picking locks in the UFC at 80%. Go watch the videos. They exist. They're on Patreon. It's not a lie. The chart is there. Everything is there. And this is over 100 fights now. I've picked over 200 fights overall. I pick every single fight. And my record's somewhere in the 60-something percentages. I get it right more than you'll ever imagine. And in a sport like UFC, it's very difficult. Football, we finished the season at about 60% against the spread. That's very difficult to do. We still did it. Shout out to us. Shout out to the MVPs. Can't wait for the next football season. Start signing up now. We're about to pop off. All right. Shout out to you, Armin. UT wide receiver room is stacked. And so is OSU's. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. They got good players everywhere. We'll talk about it when we get to them. Wish Hornsby would have stayed at Texas State. He transferred to Arkansas State and changed to wide receiver instantly. Should have just done that here. Yeah, Dylan Smith, he should have did that at Arkansas. They wanted to make him a wide receiver at Arkansas, and he refused. He wanted to play quarterback. That's why he went to Texas State. Now you're at Texas State. You don't want to play wide receiver there. You just lost your offensive coordinator. So your offensive coordinator leaves, goes to San Jose, right? Went to San Jose State. So now, or did he go to Arizona? Where'd he go? He went to Arizona. So you're just in a situation where you're like, we're out of here. I'm jumping ship. No, I came here for one reason only. So go to Arkansas State. Congratulations. Arkansas State has a pretty good quarterback situation as well. So does Texas Tech. Bond is pretty good. Yes, he is. I don't know which Bond you're talking about, whether that be Bond at Boston College or Texas. 4 yards on 12 attempts. What the hell, he needs to switch positions, sports something. Yeah, Daniel, he lost his starting job to Keontae Jenkins at FIU, and Jenkins was a freshman, and Jenkins was terrible. If you want to go look up some stats, go look up FIU's quarterback room. Look at their stats. It'll look like Iowa's back in 2022. It's bad. Hey, RicoKnows, has that Tavares Dawson committed anywhere? That kid Tavares Dawson. No, he is not. Maybe not top 10, but I feel like Colorado State should at least be in the conversation for the list as well. So there's an honorable mention list that's going to exist, Evan Kramer. And yes, Colorado State will be there. Torrey Horton alone puts you in that conversation. He's amazing. And Braden Fowler, Nicolosi. I imagine the top passing offense in the Mountain West will be Colorado State. It's coming up. So let me get back to the charts. Thank you guys for the questions and comments. If you have any more, put them in the chat. I'll get to you. So now we're going to the Cal Bears. Cal Bears are sneaky good. Cal Bears are sneaky good in the ACC. Tobias Merriweather coming in from Notre Dame. Seeing him in the starting lineups concerns me, but he's here, right? Tron Grizzle is 6'6", I believe. Is he the 6'6" kid? White kid, curly hair. 6'4". Cleats and a helmet on. He's 6'6". Right? Tron Grizzle's a problem. Mikey Matthews, the true freshman, 3-star. Bullshit, he's not 3 stars. But he just came in from Utah. He's amazing. Jonathan Brady just came in from New Mexico State. They have a decent receiver core. What makes Cal special is they have 2 tight ends. They got Corey Dykes coming in from Maryland. He's a complete stud. And Jack Endries is amazing. So they have a 2 tight end set. They have 2 good quarterbacks. They have a great running back. They're going to get single coverage because guys are going to be in the box trying to stop Jaden Ott. Cal's offense is something to talk about, bro. Cal's offense is going to score points. They did last year. They're going to do it again. Cal's offense looks great. I like their wide receiver room. It's not worth writing down as an honorable mention or anything because they don't have any bona fide NFL guys, but they're not bad. Their tight ends are going to cause problems. 2 tight ends, a great running back. That gives you one-on-one coverage outside. They can do it. Shout out to Cal. And we get to UCF. UCF's got a wide receiver room. You guys got to understand, yes, they just lost Javon Baker to the NFL draft. Shout out to him. I think he got drafted in the 4th round, if I remember correctly. But you have Xavier Townsend, and if you go turn on tape on any given game, Xavier Townsend looks like the best receiver on the team. At times, he does. Kobe Hudson, that's a transfer. He came in from, where'd he come in from? Not TCU. I'm thinking the wrong Hudson. Kobe came in from Auburn? Yeah, Kobe's from Auburn. Hey, man, get at me, bro. Kobe Hudson coming in from Auburn. Chauncey Magwood coming in from Kentucky. These are all SEC caliber guys. and they're at UCF. It's good. KJ Jefferson needs to find a way to get them the ball, but this offense looks a lot like Arkansas, but just upgraded. This offense looks a lot like, I don't know, I just talked about Cal, but upgraded. They have a good running back. R.J. Harvey, 1,400-yard rusher type. They have okay tight ends, but their wide receivers, they're problems. They're dogs. They're not bad. They're not bad at all. I like UCF. Is UCF one of the top ones? Nah. No, I can't go there, but I do like them. I think they're talented. Reminds me a lot of Arizona State's wide receiver room. That's how good they are, to me. Shout out to Central Florida. Central Michigan, let's see who they got here. Pruitt, Tyson Davis, yep. Very bad wide receiver room. Running back room leaves a lot to be desired. I think they got their work cut out. And shout out to Bert Emanuel trying to make this happen. I think their offense is going to struggle. Central Michigan, shout out to Jim McElwain. He'll figure it out. But it doesn't look good. Not in the MAC. I wouldn't be too excited about that if I was Central Michigan. I'm sure one of their players is going to write to me and be like, Rico, we got dogs at practice. Yeah, you're playing against your own dogs. It is what it is. And this is what we're talking about here. This doesn't look right. Justin Olson, graduate transfer. I thought he jumped back in the portal. This is a guy from North Carolina. And I know Jack Hester is at Utah State. He's not even on Charlotte. I'm pretty sure he transferred to Utah State. That's a Colorado transfer. Yeah, not good. Their running backs are great. They're fine. You see this guy right here, Hassan Wilson, third string? He's him. Yeah, that dude right there finally got to play a game last year. They didn't let him play all year. They didn't let him start. He was like fourth string. You see him, he's third string here, right? Rushed for like 300 yards. The one game they finally let him start. And then they were like, oh, shit, we got to put him in the lineup. And they still went and got Norton from Iowa State thinking we're doing so. I don't know what Charlotte's doing. They won't be there for long. Shout out to Biff Poggi. I like it. Cincinnati, wide receiver room. Actually, sneaky good. Sneaky good. Xavier Henderson came in from Florida. Okay, that's a good player. You got Tyron Smith. This is a bad little slot receiver from UTEP. Went to A&M last year in the winter. Went back to UTEP. Didn't play last year, maybe due to injury. But these are bad little dudes. I like them. And Barry Jackson, I want to say Cedar Grove. High school? Let me double check that. Cedar Grove? Hey, look at that. Boom. Barry Jackson, he was a late flip from Wisconsin, I believe, to Cincinnati. So Barry Jackson's him. Good. Good player. I'm interested to see where they end up. Evan Prater's here. Aaron Turner. Like, these are all good players. They've been building in the transfer portal. It's just, Scott Satterfield is so unlikable. And people don't know about Brendan Sorsby, but this is a big Texas kid who actually is pretty damn good. I'm excited to see what becomes of Sorsby. I like them, but this wide receiver room for me, it's better. It's better than BYU. It's almost comparable to UCF. I would say it is. Yeah, I like Cincinnati's wide receivers. They're pretty good. Get at me. Clemson. Okay, so Clemson doesn't use the transfer portal unless they're getting rid of guys, and they lost some of their best. Bo Collins just went to Notre Dame. When I look at Clemson, the best receiver on this team is this guy down here, Bryant Westco. Bryant Westco Jr., 5 stars. I already made a video about him. Seems like the best wide receiver on this team. Whether he's in the starting lineup, I don't know. Clemson wide receiver room is not anything I would put in my top 10. It's not worth mentioning, but I like Bryant Westco. I do. I think he's a pro. And once you have a pro, there's no going back. Unfortunately for Coastal Carolina, they lost a lot of their wide receivers. It sucks. They lost their star in Brown. He went to South Carolina. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get to South Carolina's wide receiver room. It's definitely an honorable mention for sure. And then we get to Colorado. Colorado's wide receiver room. Obviously, Travis Hunter is the X factor there. I believe he's a better wide receiver than he is a corner. Jimmy Horn for me is a mental case and not all that great. I don't like a lot of the depth in comparison to some of the other players. What I see here are 3 starters, and Will Shepard and LeJontay Wester are worth the ranking and what they're talking about, but I don't necessarily know if it's top 10. For me, I wouldn't put it ahead of Alabama. I wouldn't. Because I would ask you how many of these guys would go to Alabama and start, and it's like 1 or 2. 1. Maybe 1. And it's not going to be the alpha male. I just feel that way. So for me, I don't have Colorado ahead of Alabama. They're just not. They're a good wide receiver room. Don't get it twisted. But LeJontay Wester is like Romello Murphy to me, a leading wide receiver at a group of 5 school that transfers to the Power 5. So Arizona already has that. Arizona got Romello Murphy. They got LaJohntay Wester. Very similar in production and dominating your opposition between Arizona and Colorado. But then Arizona has T-Mac. And Will Shepard is not T-Mac. He's just not. T-Mac is better than everybody. Now, Travis Hunter, a full-time wide receiver, would be intriguing to me. But because he's not, now you're looking at the younger kids coming in. And when you start talking about freshmen in your 2 deep and trying to convince me that that's why your wide receiver room is good, I'm going to remind you that I just passed the team right now that had a 5-star in Clemson at 3rd string. 5-star wide receiver, 3rd string. 5-star wide receivers, 3rd. And I don't get excited about Ryan Williams. I don't get excited about a lot of these 5-star guys because you should have been recruiting and ensure that those guys aren't in your 2 deep for the most part, unless you have a freak of nature, right? And I don't think Terrell Timmons or Draylon Miller, I don't think they're those guys. So it's fine. It's not a bad room. I like Omarion Miller a lot, but he's also not upper echelon when it comes to Big 12 wide receivers. For me, a lot of these guys aren't. They're not top 10. They're just not there. So collectively, very improved, better than you were last year, but to say they're even top 10 in the nation is absurd. I think I have them top 5 in the Big 12. I do. I really do. So that's where that is. Let's keep going. And then we go to Colorado State. Very comparable wide receiver room. You guys need to learn who Donovan Ollie is. Donovan Ollie used to be Cam Ward, one of Cam Ward's top targets. Donovan Ollie's a 6'6" wide receiver, and he transferred to Cincinnati. They deemed him ineligible last year. I don't think he played at all. And maybe, no, he did. I think he only had like 9 yards. And then he left, and now he's at Colorado State. So Donovan Ollie's good. Obviously, Torrey Horton is an NFL wide receiver, one of the best. He'll have over 100 receptions. And then Dylan Goffney, I believe that's an SMU kid. Sometimes you got to, SMU. Dylan Goffney's good size. They're going to have to replace Justice Ross Simmons. He left. And it's one of these things where it's like, how good are they? I think Caleb Goody can play. If you go watch these guys, Caleb Goody, Levon Brown can play, but they did lose 3 wide receivers to the transfer portal. And decent ones. Guys who went to San Diego State, guys who are still contributing. So it's one of these things. But to me, these 2 up here, actually all 3 are very good. It's a good starting lineup for sure. One of the best in the Mountain West for sure. I'm going to put it down as honorable mention. Just because Torrey Horton is him. And teams will move down as we go. Let's get back to, by the way, I like Cincinnati too. People can say what they want, but I watch it all. Who else is there? Cincinnati, Charlotte, Central Florida. Nah, I'm not going to put UCF in there. All right. Next is UConn. UConn's wide receiver room is real. I love UConn's wide receiver room. I think among the group of 5, it's one of the best. I do. I think they just don't have any bona fide pro. But Skylar Bell had 30 receptions last year at Wisconsin. TJ Sheffield's been the 2nd leading receiver at Purdue 2 years in a row. Okay? And Josiah Gathings, now this is the guy that's a headache for me. Josiah Gathings is great. He was the leading receiver at Akron. But he talks too much shit, man. He talks too much smack after every play. Every first down, it's his first time, bro. He's out there just letting you have it. Looks like a head case for me, but he's a hell of a player. The question is, can Nick Evers get them the ball? Nick Evers just transferred in, former 4-star quarterback, has never played, always been on the bench. When I evaluated him out of Oklahoma going to Wisconsin, I told everybody I don't think he's a Wisconsin caliber quarterback. I don't think he's a Power 5 caliber quarterback is what I actually said. And so here he is at UConn. I hope he gets on his feet. But Jim Mora's had good wide receivers, hit the transfer portal and leave, and he's backfilled it with pretty solid, talented guys. Like, these guys get it done on Saturdays. These are not potential dudes. Let me give you an example. All the backup wide receivers at Colorado right now that you guys think are good, they're not better than these guys. They're not better than Skylar Bell, TJ Sheffield, Josiah Gathings. Not a chance in hell they're better than these guys. These guys are good. Now, they're not as good as some of the other starters, but This is a good wide receiver room. And that's what people need to understand. UConn has a solid wide receiver room. If they were in a conference, I would tell you where they rank, but they're definitely in the top 10 in group of 5 wide receiver rooms, for sure. I'll go to Duke. I'll go to the chat here shortly. Love everything in Duke's wide receiver room. Yes, you lose Calhoun to graduation. He's gone. He was one of your speed demons. But Jordan Moore is your leading wide receiver. The last 2 years, Jordan Moore has had 60 receptions or more. Okay? Former dual threat quarterback coming out of high school, 3-star guy. He was actually a quarterback at Duke. And then 2 years ago, they finally just said, hey, we're not going to start your quarterback. You want to play wide receiver? He said, sure. And he's been dominating ever since. Then you have Javon Harvey, who 2 years ago was a deep threat, averaged over 20 yards of reception at ODU. Last year, kind of set back. Romello Murphy led them in receiving. This was one of the other leading receivers at ODU. Initially, he was going to transfer to A&M, and then he flipped to Duke. I think those two are very good, but in the ACC, they're not. It's not worth talking about. They're not in one of the top wide receiver rooms. But I really like Jordan Moore. That's a hidden gem a lot of people don't talk about. I made a video on him just yesterday. So go watch it on TikTok if you haven't seen it. Sorry about that. We're getting there, guys. We'll go to East Carolina. East Carolina's wide receiver room. Chase Sewell, he's a transfer from Colorado. Winston Wright and Anthony Smith, nothing to talk about. Robinson, no. Oof. Rough. And we're not even sure if Jake Garcia is going to start at quarterback. Caden Hauser was actually playing just as good as him in the spring game. So this looks like a bad team. Just looks like nothing like they were 2 years ago. Bad team. ECU is going to have a rough go. EMU is a run-first team. Don't like anything they're doing here. Terry Lockett came in last year from Michigan State. Been a non-factor. None of these guys really move me. Obviously, Cole Snyder coming in from Buffalo. Hey, you go and get a Buffalo quarterback. Congratulations. He does play good from time to time, just so you know. But Delbert Mims, running back, where is Mims from? NC State, if I remember correctly. Mims will be fine. They lost a lot of their talent in the transfer portal. I don't think it looks good for them. Eastern Michigan, I don't think it looks good. Just looking at them. From a skill point perspective, they're missing a lot. We're going to get to Florida. Let's go through the Fs, and then we'll go from there. So Florida's wide receiver room. DK coming in from Wisconsin. Badger coming in from Arizona State. And then Trey Wilson. All studs. Jackson looks good. Marcus Burke looks good. Aiden Meisel looks good. All you heard about last offseason was Andy Jean and how great he is. Everybody looks pretty solid. I don't think it's a top wide receiver room in the SEC. I think they're going to have really good quarterback play. Graham Mertz made a lot of great decisions last year and played out of his mind. And they have a good running back room. Let me tell you, this guy, Jaden Baugh, he's going to find himself in the two deep. There's nothing you can do about it. That dude's real. So with Mertz making smart decisions, a solid offensive line, their biggest issue is defense. Their biggest issue is depth and just being competitive. But I actually think they don't have a star wide receiver that stretches the field. I don't think they have, and they're trying to find it with Badger. But even Ricky Pearsall didn't change your win total. Even Ricky Pearsall didn't move the meter, and he was a first-round draft pick when you think about it. Even with Ricky Pearsall, no one thought this was one of the top wide receiver rooms in America, and he was a first-round draft pick. There's something wrong here, and I think when true freshmen can show up and make it look like they're a spark compared to what you have and you're too deep, that's bad. That means you've incorrectly evaluated wide receivers coming out of high school for years. You've been doing it for years to where you keep missing on different transfer wide receivers or high school wide receivers because you should have already had more senior starters. Should have had a junior starter. A sophomore and a freshman should not be – these guys should not be threatening your recruiting classes and what you've done and developed on the roster. So they just need to figure it out. They need more depth at the position, but a lot of them feel like subtle misses here and there. I like the starting three, but we'll see what happens. I like the starting three. I don't think it's a top wide receiver room. Not in comparison to some of these other teams in the SEC. Is it better than group of 5 teams? For sure. But you're not playing group of 5 teams. You're playing the hardest schedule in America, blah, blah, blah. FAMU, wide receiver room, been gutted by the transfer portal. Gutted, and they've been replacing it with just random people. Cam Fancher coming in from Marshall, good quarterback. We'll see what happens. But this team feels like they lost all their best players in the last 2 years, either to graduation or the transfer portal. It's going to be rough. It's going to be rough for FAMU. They're not going to score as much as they used to, but we'll see what happens. Love their coach, by the way. Tom Herman, former Houston coach, Texas coach. Tom Herman's a good coach. FIU, they're trying to stick together. Burris, where is the kid from last year? He's not here. I'll tell you what, though. I'm going to say this. When I evaluate these players, I went and looked at Denzel Washington's tape. Desna Washington. He's got a different first name. He goes by Desna, but he's got a different first name on certain websites. This is a former JUCO kid, just played at New Mexico last year. He's good, man. He's good. He's sneaky good. He's not in the starting lineup, but he's sneaky good. I don't know what FIU is going to do. They got a running back. They got a couple of them. They don't have a great quarterback. I don't know what they're going to do. Shout out to Rocky Beers. That's the tight end's name. He's on my all-name team. But this team doesn't look that great. But if Desna's not in your starting lineup, that means these guys can play up here. Because Desna looked good to me. I just evaluated his tape recently. Let's see here. Florida State. A lot of people were talking about Florida State's wide receiver room. I don't like it. I think Jaylen Brown's a complete stud. I went and watched the tape. Jaylen Brown's blazing fast. LSU transfer, but only a true freshman last year, redshirted, and hasn't played. And then the rest of these guys who are playing, I thought Deuce Spann went down with an injury. I might be wrong. I could be wrong. It might have been somebody else. But you're looking at some studs at the top. I don't think Malik Benson's that good. I've never been high on Malik Benson. The only reason people know his name is he was the number one JUCO wide receiver coming out last year. Told me he was a 5-star JUCO player going to Alabama, all this stuff. And I proclaimed to you guys, hey, he's not going to be good. I watched the tape. He's not going to dominate. Oh, he's Randy Moss. Rico, he's Randy Moss. I said, no, he's not. He's like 6'1", and he looks enormous because he's going against 5'5" corners. I don't like it. I don't like it. And sure enough, wasn't. What do you have? 9 receptions? Something crazy? Wasn't worth talking about. So I'm not moved by this. I also don't think they have elite level running backs. I don't think they have elite level quarterback play. I think they're very underwhelming on the offensive side of the ball. Florida State does not move me on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, as long as Marvin Jones plays to his potential, Devontae Brown gets back to his UCF status. A lot of these guys are amazing, right? Shout out to AZ, Central Cyprus, DJ Lundy, Daryl Jackson, Miami transfer, Joshua Farmer, Patrick Payton, NFL guy. Like, they got NFL dudes everywhere. They got studs on the defense side of the ball. When I look at the offense, it doesn't even compare. They evaluate talent on the defensive side of the ball. Great. They get all the best players. They figured it out. I'm telling you right now, this third string dude right here, Tommy Wadirje, is a complete animal. Just dominated last year at West Virginia. Was supposed to go to Colorado, flipped to West Virginia. That dude would be amazing on other teams. And here, he's just a guy. Way down here. That's a stud. Big Tommy. He's a friend of the channel. I've talked to him. But I'm just telling you guys, when I go evaluate this team, the offense leaves a lot to be desired. And the wide receiver room for me, and I know they're telling me they're top 10 everywhere. I look at those guys individually, and they don't move me like that. They don't. And I don't know if they have a quarterback that's even going to get them the ball to begin with. Okay? I don't like it. Just keeping it real. Just letting you guys know. And I'm typically not wrong about player evaluation and talent evaluation. Check the track record. Fresno State. The bee's knees. Fresno State is the bee's knees. They don't even have their wide receivers on here. They don't know who they got. They don't know what they're doing. Wide receivers, they went out and got 2 FCS All-Americans. Okay, they got one from Idaho State, Cheaton James, little guy, beast of a player. I already looked him over. And then they got Raylan Sharp from Missouri State. 2 guys not even on this chart. You just have to know who they are. I love Fresno State's wide receiver room. I like what they're doing. Obviously, they have Mikey Keene. They have Malik Sherrod. I think they're quietly the real deal. And I'm going to tell you guys something. This guy right here, Joshua Wood's eventually going to transfer someday. Joshua Wood's going to transfer someday, and somebody's going to get a hell of a player. If he hits the transfer portal, the Big West is going to go crazy and try to sign him. Eastern Michigan, Idaho, Montana State, everybody's going to try to get this guy. That's a player. Joshua Wood is great. When Travis Hunter and who was his quarterback in high school at Collins Hill, the kid who went to Missouri, forgetting his name right now. He's injured right now, baseball injury, Tommy John surgery or something. I'll never forget his name, and I just did right now. But when Collins Hill won state in high school in Georgia, they won the state title. They went undefeated. Everybody talking about Georgia high school football is amazing, right? Best in the country. They're up there with the top 3 and all this shit. There was the championship showcase, and Collins Hill had to go play against the number 1 state champ in Washington. And the quarterback in that game was Joshua Wood. And Joshua Wood, yeah, Sam Horn, thank you so much, Caleb. Joshua Wood dominated that game. Joshua Wood got on the scene, got on my map that day, and he never got off it. It's unfortunate, though. Obviously, Mikey Keene is him. That's an alpha male right there. Joshua Wood's been dealing with some injuries, some other things. That's a stud player, just so you know. Sorry for that little tangent. Sorry for going off. And let me jump back to the chat, and then I'll get back to you guys. And we'll get back to the next team. We just finished the Fs, and we'll get on Georgia here in a bit. So, go to the chat here. It says, can you zoom in on your list? I got here late. My list isn't on the screen yet. The top 10 is below me. You might have to rewind the show. You can always rewind a live stream if you got here late. Put it at 1.25 playback speed, and you'll catch up eventually. Maybe not. Yep. Where do you rank Utah's wide receiver core? It'll be coming up, Toes. We'll get to it. Can you zoom in on your list? Ohio State, TF. Yeah, of course Ohio State's real. Everybody knows Ohio State's real. I like Iowa State's wide receiver, and you better believe it, D-Sup. You better believe it. Kansas wide receiver room is slept on. Not by me. Not by me, Evan Kramer. Curious what your thoughts are on Nebraska's room. We'll get there. Are there going to be any more transfer portal podcasts? Caleb Brook, eventually. I will get to it. We're cleaning up a lot of things right now. I'm working on NFL draft reviews. I'm doing one a day. I'm working on my camp stuff. I'm working on evaluation of players. So I'm trying to do one hidden gem, a deep dive for the MVPs. We'll get there eventually. I apologize I had to stop the series. It just got a little overwhelming in the spring. So many new players jumped in. So many players are still out there. And it was just not realistic for me to do that. I also, in full disclosure, I have a lot of things going on in my personal life where I'm preparing for a move and relocation and stuff like that. So please bear with me. I'm doing my best to pump out as much content every day as humanly possible, given the time constraints and everything else. Did you do Wisconsin yet? I'm going alphabetical. I think the Florida guys fit their quarterback's talents for sure. What up, Rico? What up, Caleb? Short passes make you miss. Do you like UGA's wide receiver room? I'm about to get to it. Destin Hill was the one who got hurt. Yes, it is. My bad. Destin Hill done for the season. Interesting. Kobe Young is a dude. There we go. All right. So, Georgia. For me, Georgia wide receiver room is better than Arizona. Listen to what I'm saying. Top to bottom, Georgia's wide receiver room is so elite. The quarterbacks are elite. They have the best quarterback in America, Carson Beck, coming back, just a complete stud. Carson Beck, Gunnar Stockton's the backup. I'm waiting for Gunnar Stockton to start a game. You guys, if you've never seen Gunnar Stockton, he looks like a trucker or a guy with a mullet who can play quarterback and just like handle his shit. Like Gunnar Stockton's him. Good, dual threat dude. Always loved both of them dudes. And then obviously Rashada just showed up. Who cares? Tight ends. They got stud tight ends everywhere. This helps their receiver core. But those receivers are not to be played with. Ra Thomas coming in from Mississippi State last year or 2 years ago now. Complete stud. Dominic Lovett coming in 2 years ago. Stud. Actually outshined some guys, right? Small dudes. But that Kobe Young finally came into his own and really played well at Miami last year, and now he transfers. That Arian Smith is the fastest player in all of college football. Arian Smith is a 10-100 meters world-class speed. Cole Spear probably shouldn't be at Georgia. White kid, where did he play? Calhoun? I remember watching him play in high school. He belonged at Georgia Tech, Georgia Southern, somewhere else. But he's there. It's nothing to talk about too much. London Humphreys, one of the best young wide receivers leaving Vandy last year. Played well. He and Will Shepard were splitting the spotlight at Vandy. But you see him here. He's not the star. He's third string, fourth string. Because he's really not that good. Michael Jackson III coming over from USC. Former five-star kid. Nitro Tuggles here. Sokovie White already got arrested, so he fits right in with Georgia wide receivers. But at the end of the day, they have some really good wide receivers. Dylan Bell, Ra Thomas, Dominic Lovett, Colby Young, Arian Smith, Anthony Evans. Yeah, this is a problem. They got good wide receivers. Now, I think collectively the room is good. Bonafide superstar, taking the top off of defense, stuff like that. I mean, every single day, every single play, I don't know about that. So I'm probably going to put them. Yeah, there's just too many good ones, though. They're going to be third on my list right now. I have them behind my number 1 and my number 2 team as we get to them. But, yeah, shout out to Georgia. Good wide receiver room. Very talented. Let's keep it going. Georgia Southern. Nah. Shelton LV, Bucky Shelton just came in. Nah, Jacoby Jones came in. I'm not too sold on their wide receiver room. I'm not. And Dexter Williams coming in and winning the quarterback job is crazy. J.C. French being competitive for that job is nuts. He just came. He's a local kid, transferred in from Memphis. Those two, it's just weird. Tyler Budge, is that the TikTok dude? Did he pay to get there? The whole team is right here. The whole team is right here. Jalen White and O.J. Arnold, Amaria Arnold, Brooks County, 2A, 1A state champs, whatever they were at that time. These are studs right here. Just 2 stud running backs. The rest of the team, yikes. Looks like they're not getting back the talent they need, and I really like them. Oh, where's the Dallas kid? Did we see Dallas on here? Dallas Josh? Hey, Dallas Josh. Small school guy. He and his brother. Where's his brother? Josh Dallas. Where's his brother? Sorry, y'all. That's exciting to me. Was he playing tight end? What is he playing? Oh, there he is. David Dallas. He's playing quarterback. Hey, the Dallas brothers. Yeah, they're good. 1A school football. I think they lost in the state title game. But the both Dallas brothers stayed in state and went to Georgia Southern. Pretty good. This guy's good right here. Good player. I like him. These are not worth talking about in regards to like the best players of all time or anything or in the country next year. Nothing of that sort. Just guys I like. Georgia State just got rid of Jakari Carter. He just left, went to Albany, went back to the FCS. CJ Beasley coming in from Coastal Carolina. Zach Gibson coming in from Georgia Tech. New coaching staff. This is my guy right here. The fact that Freddie Brock's the starting running back at Georgia State, and if he's not, everybody just has a problem, bro. I don't know what it is, but Freddie Brock needs to be the starting running back at Georgia State. Let's sign the petition now. The rest of this stuff, nobody's really great here. Freddie Brock transferred from Maine, actually balled out in the bowl game last year. We won a ton of money. Shout out to the MVPs. I told him to bet on Freddie Brock playing great, bet his over on yards, ladder it all the way to 200, and he went ham. True story. Really happened. I won everybody money if you guys don't remember that. Let's see here. Yeah, but Del McGee is one of the best coaches. Just got a new hire, right? Coming over from Georgia. Knows how to do things. Running everything like Kirby. We'll see what happens. All right, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, for me, I think Georgia Tech's wide receiver room is better than... Yeah, I think Georgia Tech's wide receiver room is better than Colorado's. I really do. So Chase Lane, transfer from Texas A&M. Haynes King is him. Okay, Jamal Haynes is actually a wide receiver who converted to running back. So there's that thing there. But when you have Haynes King and you have these wide receivers, Malik Rutherford, pro, Eric Singleton, pro, like these are good wide receivers, and you get transfers. See Christian Leary? That's an Alabama transfer. And they don't have him in the starting lineup anymore. And he's a stud. Abdul Jana, This is a transfer from Norfolk. Let's check that. FCS. Duquesne. Damn. Oh, no, I was thinking the kid at Virginia Tech. So from Duquesne, complete stud. Bailey Stockton. Shout out to Prince Avenue Christian. Bailey Stockton is a bad little dude, man. Aaron Philo's his quarterback. He's the fourth quarterback over here. Aaron Philo, the all-time leading passer in Georgia State history. But these are good. These top 6 up here, though, these ain't no game right here. Chris Winkie and these boys are getting it right. Georgia Tech has one of the better wide receiver rooms in America, and people have no effing clue what they're talking about if they don't recognize how good Georgia Tech's wide receivers are. They're very good. They are going to carry this shit. They're real. Do some research. These are players. Eric Singleton, Malik Rutherford, Chase Lane, Christian Leary, Abdul Jana, Leo Black. Like, if we had tryouts tomorrow and nobody was wearing jerseys and shit and you didn't know who they were and you're just like, let's go run some routes, let's do some tryouts, you're going to pick these guys to be your starters over a lot of other people. These are good players. Georgia Tech's got a real wide receiver room. Shout out to them. Didn't even think about it. Get to Hawaii. Hawaii's quarterback is back. Ashlock's good. Oh, they got a lot to do out here, but Schrager's back. We'll see what he can do. Schrager had a good season last year. Anytime you're under this Timmy Chang, anytime you're under this type of offense with Timmy Chang, you're going to be good. We'll see what happens. I'm not too excited about it. I would say they're in the bottom half of the Mountain West, unfortunately. Houston lost all their wide receivers. Nothing to talk about here. Lost all their wide receivers. The only guy they got coming back is Manjack, Joseph Manjack, former USC kid. And what I'll say about this is you lose your star wide receivers and you replace them with Tulsa transfers. I ain't mad at you, but Marquise Shoulders and Devin Williams are Tulsa transfers. And they're good. They're good Tulsa wide receivers. But it's Tulsa. Okay? Mekhi Muse coming in. It's a big, anytime you can get somebody from Grayson, from Georgia, this is a big-time get for them. I'm sorry, Willie Fritz. But for me, it's not the same, man. It's not. You just lost some really good players. And especially in the Big 12, doesn't feel like top upper echelon wide receiver room. They're good, but there's a lot of depth here. And then you have Donovan Smith, one of the best dual threat quarterbacks nobody talks about. That's an under the radar quarterback right there. Even Zion Chris coming in from Louisiana. But this right here, this is that scary, this sneaky stuff. All these running backs, look, man. Tony Mathis Jr. was the leading rusher at West Virginia 2 years ago. Transferred in. These are two young men, Stacy Sneed and Parker Jenkins, who filled in when, not Parker Jenkins, Sneed did. Sneed filled in when Alton McCaskill went down with his injury. And then Parker Jenkins just had a breakout year last year as a true freshman. All in all, their offensive weapons are pretty decent. I think Coach has his work cut out trying to find answers in here, but you get a ULM transfer in your starting lineup who led the team in tackles. He's not bad, tied their team in tackles. I like the team and where they're going, but it's something I talked about in the offseason earlier is Houston's just changing the caliber of their team. They're just changing the caliber of the players they recruit. They're going for more character-driven guys. You can just tell. And it'll be a while before that pays off. You can't instantly get somebody, the hood dude who's just ghetto fast or whatever. You just don't have it. You're not willing to jeopardize your morals for victories type deal, like some of these other teams. Illinois' wide receiver room, one of the worst. Don't even worry about it. One of the worst ever. Like it's bad. Indiana's wide receiver room, the bee's knees. Indiana's wide receiver room is the bee's knees. We'll talk about it. First and foremost, Elijah Surratt coming in, 1,000-yard receiver from JMU. Donovan McCulley. This guy didn't drop a pass last year. He had 0 drop passes. Okay? Miles Price coming in the transfer portal. Miles Cross. Cross from Ohio? I think Cross is from Ohio, yeah. So you're coming in from Ohio. You know your quarterback. Curtis Rourke just came in from Ohio. You have a good relationship, and you're not good enough to start because they got other players. I like Indiana's wide receiver room. I don't know. I think it's honorable mention. I think these two are very special. McCauley and Surratt are special. I think it's honorable mention. It's not that bad. It's not bad. Let's go. Shout out to Indiana. Iowa, bad. Nothing to really talk about. Caleb Brown, transfer from Ohio State. Seth Anderson, FCS transfer. The rest leave a lot to be desired. Watched all their tape. I've studied every team, but you know. All right. Who did they just get in the transfer portal? They're missing one. Iowa State just got a transfer wide receiver. Somebody tell me who it is. Iowa State's wide receiver room is... It's right behind Georgia Tech. Iowa State's good, bro. Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel were the top 2 wide receivers on this team last year. Somebody put it in the chat and let me know who it was. Who is it? Who is it? Recent Iowa State transfer wide receiver. I hate not knowing. Excuse me. I could pull it up faster than I should have just started pulling it up. That's on me. I usually do all this behind the scenes, and you guys don't have to watch me work. But it's just one kid just recently transferred in. Oh, Eli Green. What the hell's wrong with me? Eli Green, leading receiver at North Dakota State, complete stud in the FCS, just showed up to be their 3rd wide receiver. Yeah, they're loaded. They're loaded. I have them ahead of Colorado. That's a great wide receiver room. They're very good. Noel and Higgins are a 1-2 punch you don't want to mess with. And before you say, well, then they don't have a good quarterback. Rocco Beck threw for over 3,000 yards as a freshman last year. They got a good wide receiver room. They look very good. I like them. Yep, right behind Georgia Tech for me. Georgia Tech kind of has like freak of nature. Like Georgia Tech has super athletic guys, complete studs. Whereas Iowa State has productive guys. I won't even click on Jacksonville State. I'm going to say something though. I'll click on them. Jacksonville State, when you look at these guys, Jordan McCants can play. Gerard Bowie is so good, and he's way down here. This is a transfer from Division II. This is a good wide receiver, and he can't even get up here. I don't know, man. There's a reason they're winning all them games. There's a reason they're so good. Anwar Lewis can run a little bit, but it's going to be tough to be as good as last year. I don't think that's going to happen. But, man, their wide receiver room, when you start seeing studs like this, 4th string, Gerard Bowie is him. That's Tyson Bagent's wide receiver in high school. Tyson Bagent, that's how I discovered this guy right here. I was watching Tyson Bagent's film in high school, and Gerard Bowie was there. Shout out to the Bears. Shout out to Jacksonville State. Sorry I'm taking so long, guys, that we're going to give every team some love. Wide receivers at JMU look terrible this year. Obviously, transfers hit. New coaching staff, Dylan Moore's coming in from Washington, going to give them some life. But the reality is everybody in the rankings, on the recruiting websites, go look in the winner. They try to tell you George Pettaway was the good running back on this team. He was the star transfer, the former 4-star from North Carolina. And I told you guys, there's a 5'7" running back showing up from North Texas who's going to beat everybody. He's the best. Averages 7 yards a carry. Ayo Adehi was the leading rusher of North Texas last year. And Oscar Attaway went to South Carolina. Is it Attaway? It's Oscar. They got it all wrong, bro. Ayo Adehi is the superstar here. He's the Emmitt Smith. JMU found out in the spring, and he's now the starter. Just shout out to me for knowing that right off rip. As soon as I saw the transfer, I'm like, dude, you guys understand how big of a deal that is? Now we get to Kansas. Kansas is a damn problem, y'all. Kansas has studs. They're very senior Latin. You guys see it here. All seniors. Trevor Wilson is senior. Transfer coming in. Very, very senior group. And Luke Grimm is your Ricky Pearsall. Your just your bad white dude, bro. Luke Grimm, former 2-star coming out of high school, out of Missouri, ranked something way low. These guys, and they have a quarterback, right? Sorry about that. I'm trying to close all these ads out while I go. Jalen Daniels, Devin Neal keeps the box tight. Pause. Keeps the box heavy. And these receivers go to work. I love this wide receiver room at Kansas. I would rank them probably honorable mention. But I really like them. I'm telling you. Go watch film on Luke Grimm, Lawrence Arnold, Quentin Skinner. Like, these guys have been around for years, getting developed by their coaching staff, not chasing NIL dollars, not worried about a damn thing. They've just been there. Look at that. There's no TRs here. There's no transfers. These guys have been there, getting developed, and they've been knocking it out the park. It's special. Love what Kansas is doing. Kansas State wide receivers, gross, not very good. Never take the top off of defense. Nothing to write home about. Yes, Keegan Johnson showed up last year. Dante Cephas just showed up, former Penn State, former Kent State. All this stuff, I'm not moved by anybody over here. And I'll be getting to them soon and watching all their film. But as of right now, K-State doesn't move me like that. Kent State, trash wide receiver room. Congratulations to every one of these young men for being on scholarship. But that's about it. Excuse me. Let's keep going. I'll get back to the chat here in a second. Kentucky. Kentucky's wide receiver room. Now, I don't know what people are doing, but for me, Kentucky's wide receiver room is better than Georgia's. When you turn on the tape, Berrien Brown is a special talent. They just don't get him the ball enough. Berrien Brown is so amazing. Dane Key is so amazing. Two Kentucky wide receivers are NFL caliber. And what's crazy about it is you go and look at a guy like Chris Lewis who hit the transfer portal and went to Troy, and when you see him on the field, you're like, yo, what just happened? How did that guy not start? Because those two freshmen, they've been starting since they were true freshmen. Now they're going to be juniors. They are amazing. And they've had terrible quarterback play, whether it be Will Levis, terrible offensive lineman. Those two guys are forever linked together. And then you go and get a 1,000-yard receiver in Jamori Macklin. Now, I'm not sold on Macklin. I told you guys I don't think he's an SEC caliber wide receiver. Initially started his college career at Missouri, couldn't play. Go to North Texas, can play and ball out, and now you're back in the SEC. Fred Farrier coming in. I guess Fred Farrier knows somebody. He's got pictures of somebody, bro. He's got leverage somewhere. He might have pictures of Stoops with an adolescent or something, and that's how he got his offer. This guy doesn't belong anywhere on the roster. This dude right here got some dirt on somebody. Because I watched his tape and was like, yo, what are we doing? But these guys, Anthony Brown-Stevens, Berrien Brown, Dane Key, Jamori Macklin, like those four, Brandon White, this is a really good wide receiver room. NFL guys, and you can't deny it. And I'm going to tell you guys, you're going to be pleasantly surprised what Brock Vandergriff, BVG, former 5-star Prince Avenue Christian from Georgia, played for his dad. This is a bad dude. Got a lot of John Elway to him. A lot of John Elway to him. You know what he does well? I'm going to say something to you guys what he does well. His ball placement. There will be times the receiver doesn't look open, and he will throw them open. But let's flip it back a little bit further. Even when a corner jumps the route and comes underneath it, he still puts it in a place where only his receiver can get it. It's like he avoids, he's playing dodgeball, and he's not trying to hit you with the ball. You're trying to get it, and he won't let you. Okay, it's special, man. What he does, his arm talent and his ball placement, it's special. I really like Brock Vandergriff. I think there's something there. Now, the running back room is trash. Running back room is not what an SEC running back room should look like. But these guys, you can't go wrong when somebody can take a slant to the house. You can't go wrong when somebody can take a bubble screen and a slip screen and go 80 yards. First down. Like, that's these guys right here. They're so nice. So for me, Kentucky is definitely on my receiver list, and I got them third right now. My top two are ahead of them, and we haven't even gotten to them yet. But I have to put them there for now. Go to Liberty. Liberty just lost C.J. Daniels. Who do they have left? Deontay Lee Jr. I've talked to him before. This is a small school guy transferring in. Reese Smith, Tyson Mobley. Nobody really, not worth talking about. This isn't a good wide receiver room. No. It's not going to move me like that. Billy Lucas is good. Quentin Cooley's good. Von Blue is good. James Joyner, Arkansas transfer, good. These are studs, man. Victor Vinn, Baylor's finest. That's is he from Colorado? Or was it Nebraska? Yeah, it's Colorado. Baylor, Buford had two running backs, Gabe Irvin Jr. and Victor Vinn in high school. And Gabe Irvin Jr. went to Nebraska. Victor Vinn went to Colorado. I have a tough time keeping track of who's who. It means nothing to you guys, but somebody like me, when I'm knowing every single player in college football, it's just it's difficult. So either way, running wide receiver room not that great. Hey, Sibley, he gets open. Sibley makes plays. He's clutch from time to time. They'll be sneaky good. Obviously, great coach. Raging Cajun, not it. Wide receiver room is not it. Not too excited about it. And everybody cheers for the little guy, Chandler Fields, Ben Woolridge. I always tell the story about Ben Woolridge moving from Fresno State. So Ben Woolridge is there because he lost the quarterback battle at Fresno State against Jake Haener. Jake Haener went to Fresno State because he lost the quarterback battle against who the hell was it? The kid at Washington who beat him out, Eason. And then Eason went up there because he lost the quarterback battle to Jake Fromm. So Jake Fromm's the reason Ben Woolridge is at ULM, or I'm sorry, Louisiana Raging Cajun. Yeah, long story short, Ben Woolridge is there because Jake Fromm beat out a guy at Georgia. 6 degrees of separation. What up, Kevin Bacon? All right. Sorry, too much there. La Tech wide receiver room leaves a lot to be desired. I believe they got a transfer coming in, and I don't see him here. But obviously, DeColdis Crawford, former Nebraska wide receiver, is supposed to be good. We'll see. I think that Sonny Cumbie gets fired this year. Jack Turner's not good enough. Ty Keys, former Gatorade Player of the Year out of Mississippi, used to be at Southern Miss. He's back. Denario Davenport transferring in from Texas State. I just think these guys get themselves fired. It's going to be bad. Do they still have the brothers? The brothers transferred in from Arizona State? They're not there anymore. Huh. Long Beach Poly kids? Arizona State? No. Either way, La Tech, Sonny Cumbie, last year, buddy. Gotta go. Let's keep looking. Louisiana Monroe. They don't know who's on their team. I do. Shout out to Vincent for becoming a new coach, Brian Vincent, getting back into the South. I've talked about it at length. I won't rehash it, but I'm pulling for ULM. Obviously, they got their work cut out. Louisville wide receivers. Chris Bell, Ja'Cory Brooks, the transfer I was mentioning earlier from Alabama. Colin Lacey, a complete stud from South Alabama. Antonio Meeks, Jimmy Callaway, transfer from Tennessee. Jaden Thompson, Hicks, and King. When I look at this team, it looks really good at the wide receiver room. That's an honorable mention wide receiver room. Got it. Pretty good. Shout out to them. Let's keep going. I'm going to get to the chat after I finish the L's. So LSU's left. So for me, LSU, C.J. Daniels. Here's what I want to say. C.J. Daniels is a stud out of Liberty, but at the Power 5 level, I don't see him get much separation. He struggled against Oregon in the bowl game, and he just doesn't look the part for me. He doesn't. He was running with second team all spring long because he's not that good when we have to line up and try out for the position. Yes, he's ahead of Hilton now because Chris Hilton drops passes. By the way, drop passes. So does Kyron Lacey. They both drop passes. They get open, but they drop passes. Xavion Thomas was brought over to be a punt returner, and it turns out he's going to be a starter. That's crazy, okay? Shout out to Mississippi State. Obviously, you have Aaron Anderson coming in, highly recruited out of high school. I have yet to see anything from him. Transfer from Alabama, going back home to LSU. When I look at his wide receiver room, it doesn't look that good to me. But it's honorable mention, I'm sure. But I can't put that in my top 10. I cannot put that in my top 10. Nope. And they do have it in their top 10. That's just crazy to me. Doesn't make sense. All right, I'm going to jump back to the chat. Shout out to you guys for being here. Let's go. Eli Green, thank you for asking. Yep, let me go back. Del McGee going to get some running backs developed. Yes, he is. Shout out to Georgia State. What up, Reekster? It's your boy, Willie Bobo. Shout out to Willie Bobo. Day one, A1. Willie Bobo is him. Thank you for being here, bro. UGA went to Dylan Bell a few times last year in big spots. Yes, they did, D-Sup. He's clutch when it needs to be. Hey, Rico, going to do a USF rebuild on NCAA 25. What should I be focusing on recruiting besides quarterback? Because Byron Brown for Heisman. Yeah, man. When you want to win on a video game, all I used to do is recruit tight ends, and I would make defensive backs switch to quarterback. You run the option. You never throw the ball. You just run the option with your fastest guys. You're going to have three of them, your three fastest guys. They're going to get tired because you're just running it over and over and over. You put all the tight ends with the highest run blocking at wide receiver. Make them be wide receivers. So you want all your wide receivers with run blocking ability. They will go block defensive backs and then get on linebackers. Everything is about blocking for your run game. You just turn into a damn academy team, but you run four verticals every play. Four verticals. You get your four tight ends on the field. They block and lay everyone out. It's kind of dumb, but it's what I would do when I'm rebuilding on a video game. Haven't played in a while. Don't mess with it. Shout out to Byron Brown. Let's see here. Kobe Young's going to be a problem. 10-plus touchdowns this year. I don't know about 10-plus touchdowns. That's a bit much, but let me go back. I just realized I'm reading from somewhere else. Did you do Wisconsin yet? Nope. I think Florida guys fit their guys. Yup, this is where we're at. Rico, what do you think about Tafik Thomas at Colorado? Was a dog in high school. Juan Gutierrez. Tafik Thomas is a defensive tackle transferring in, and I think he's in the rotation and doesn't really pop on tape for me. I went and looked him over. It didn't really stick out to me. Mr. RicoKnows, can you please have a take on USC? I know you're going in alphabetical order. Then you know I'll get to him, the Bobo. I'm getting there. USC is them. Do you ever evaluate European players? William, what do you mean by that? European players. I evaluate tape when it's sent to me. If a player from Europe were to transfer to America, I'll go look at it. But outside of that, I'm an FBS college football expert. I only look at FBS college football players. I do know a lot of FCS guys because of the transfer portal, because of the playoffs, because of high school film reviews that I do. I know a shit ton of FCS guys, but I wouldn't say that I wouldn't go around telling everybody that I'm an FCS expert. I probably know more than 99.9% of the people on FCS, but I don't. FBS, I feel more comfortable. And I know a lot of people study the FBS. I know a lot of people talk about it, but they're usually like conference specific or team specific. That's boring to me. I can't just talk about one team. I can't just talk about one conference. I know everybody, and it's actually pretty difficult. It's not a magic trick. I sit here and do this all day. Haynes King is criminal. You haven't watched Haynes King? You haven't paid attention to Haynes King career? Haynes King is him. He's one of the best dual threat athletes in America. Haynes King dominated at Texas A&M. He won the quarterback battle 2 years in a row. He beat everybody. You better get it twisted. If West Virginia lands this 6'4" wide receiver out of PA, it'll be crazy. Kid's a game changer. Name's Jaleel Hall. Yeah, it'll be crazy to assume that's happening, but I hope they do. W. Rico, Elijah Green, yes, Alston. Green from North Dakota State, there you go. Day wanted Rocco Beck badly. Everybody does. That little dude's bad. Andrew Paul gonna go crazy. I don't know about that. Barry Brown is a stud, yes. Romello Murphy stats, 28 receptions, 500 yards, 3 touchdowns. LeJontay Wester's stats, 108 receptions, 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns. How is this similar in production? I can't believe people listen to this clown. So how it's similar in production is understanding the percentages of plays at at Florida Atlantic were always going to LeJontay Wester. Florida Atlantic just throws the ball to the little guy all day long. That doesn't make him a better player. That doesn't make him more talented by any means. When you dominate your opposition and you're capable of, like, could you imagine if Romello Murphy got 100 receptions? What would he do? If he got 100 receptions, he would have over 1,500 yards receiving. How is this comparable? If he had 100 receptions, he would have had 12 touchdowns. You know, you need to just slow down a bit and go watch tape. You went and pulled up some stats. Stats are not what it's about. Go watch the tape. And when you see somebody dominating the competition in front of them, that's what it is. People run different offensive schemes. You know, the leading rusher 2 years ago was an Air Force running back. One of the leading rushers in America was an Air Force running back. Why? Because they ran the ball every single play. Because they gave him the ball every single play. Does that mean that Air Force running back is better than somebody averaging 6 yards a carry in the ACC in a different conference? Is that what that means? It doesn't. When you see a guy like Javon Harvey, see, this is what you don't study. This is what you don't understand. Javon Harvey was a superstar wide receiver, was a deep threat for ODU. And with the emergence of Romello Murphy, Javon Harvey had to take a step back. Javon Harvey was no longer the leading receiver on the team. So you go from being the star receiver, and now you're not, but Javon Harvey is going to Duke and was going to A&M. So Javon Harvey is Power 5 caliber, and he just got put to the bench. Okay? When you go look at FAU's wide receivers, Jamal Edrin just left. Jamal Edrin was their star receiver. And he left and went to Purdue. Tore his ACL, didn't play last year, so you don't know who Jamal Edrin is. You just became a football fan when Coach Prime got hired. So when you sit there and you look at FAU and you say to yourself, well, how did this happen? Well, go look at Houston's stats. Go study Houston when Coach Herman was their head coach, and what the stats look like under Herman at Houston. Go study it. It'll blow your mind. It doesn't make the receivers any better. It just means they got a shit ton of stats. It's exactly what happened in Houston. They had a guy named Case Keenum. Like, I don't know if you guys just come in here and you're just casual fans. I don't know if you study schemes and understand what you're looking at, but there's a reason I have a channel. You said, I don't know why you guys watch this clown. People listen to this clown. People don't just listen to me. People gamble based upon what I say, and I make a living doing this. This isn't fandom. This is me hanging out. You know, you can do this too. You can get your phone and make a channel and make videos and state your case. You could have made a video and said Romello Murphy is not equal to LeJontay Wester. Could have made the video and shown the stats. You would have been a damn fool. You would have sounded ridiculous. Somebody would have sat you down and said, oh my God, you don't understand what you're talking about. You're looking at inflated air raid offense numbers. Do you not understand that Mississippi State 2 years ago, when Mike Leach was alive, had 14 wide receivers with receptions? 14 wide receivers with receptions. Do you think all those 14 guys are better than everybody else because they actually played? Or is there somebody on a bench somewhere who never got to play because they were in a run-heavy offense? I bet there's a wide receiver on the bench right now at West Virginia better than anybody at Mississippi State. But he didn't get to play because he's not in a pass-heavy offense. FAU is running an offense that will get you 100 receptions. It doesn't make that player better than Romello Murphy. Please, study players, evaluate talent, have a track record for doing it, be accurate when you do it, get praise, accolades, become relevant. Let the people make you relevant. I have a hard feeling 7-figure kid, that's your name. Your name is 7-fig kid. I have a good feeling you don't fill your refrigerator. I have a good feeling your refrigerator magically gets filled by an adult in that home you live in. Meaning you're not even the best person in your own domicile. In your own house, you're not the best person. I have a feeling when you talk to adults, you put your hands in your back pocket. That's your posture. We're not the same. He's playing dodgeball. What up, Dylan Smith? Caleb Parmalee says, Barian Brown is a juiced up Arian Smith. Hey, he's actually a wide receiver who knows how to play. Kentucky tried to get Damian Martinez hard. Yeah, they needed to try harder. How Arizona State looking this year? Go rewind the show. Become an MVP. I'll be doing a deep dive on them soon. NC State. Rico covered Sunday Devils earlier, said they're not bad. Bottom half of the Big 12. Keith Willis is serious. There you go. I like Xavier Thomas there. Yeah. Rico, if you did a Dynasty series, it would blow up for sure. Yeah, I'm not buying the video game, Dylan Smith, and I have no desire to blow up for sure. I have a desire to get my MVPs their money. I have a desire to keep making my money based upon my gamblers and not views. I do not give a shit about blowing up with views. Blowing up with views does not pay you. All these guys fighting for views, they can't do it for a living. They're fighting for views after they work all day at another job. No matter what they're doing, they're working a regular ass job and they're answering to somebody and they have to work that job whether they own it or not. They could be a store owner for all I care. They got to go work a job. And they're never going to make it as content creators because they're fighting for views. I'm not fighting for views. No one has to watch this. I'm doing this for my own etiquette. Like, I'm doing this for my own benefit. This is me sitting down chopping it up with people who know about every team in America. This is me talking football. This it don't matter who watches this. 58 people, 27 people. I don't give a shit how many people watch it. Doesn't make or break me. MVPs. Memberships, not subscriptions. Not subscribe to my channel, like and subscribe. And nope, you never hear me do any of that. You never hear me beg for a like. This damn live stream has 1 like. I don't care. Never hear me. All I'm telling you is get to Patreon, get to YouTube, and become an MVP. It'll change your life. That's what I'm focused on. I'm not focused on clicks. Never have been, never will be. I'm focused on accuracy. Tell everyone they're sleeping on my Mountaineers, Rico. They better not be. They better not be. Rico, doing the live in the kitchen today, Rico? Love it. Yeah, I moved my setup, guys, because I had to take my banners down. We painted the walls in the house, getting ready for to sell the house. So we had to get the walls painted. So I can't hang anything. So now I'm just next to the kitchen, bro. Just added some lights in the background, and that's what we're doing. Nobody goes into roster depth like Rico. This is like digital Phil still. Thank you, D-Sup. I try, man. Tell everyone they're sleeping on them. Yep. Lewis Henton's laughing. Most of the talking heads just say the same stuff. Yeah. So there's a difference, right? There's content creators. And then there's people who don't know what they're doing. And they just talk about what people have created. Let me show you guys something. Just the other day, I was doing this. And I found this database. And I was going through every single team transferring, or every single player transferring from the FCS to the FCS. Okay? Look what I'm talking about here. FCS to the FCS. So you're never FBS. I'm just studying each of these players. I had all day. I sat down and went and looked for film on every single player listed here. I had time. Did this like 3 days ago. And while I was doing it, I came across this. I came across trend analysis, an anomaly. I came across Gardner-Webb, their entire team transferring to ETSU. Right there. That's a video. That's content creation right there. That right there, when I saw that, first thing I thought was, okay, they're all following their head coach. Okay, they're following their head coach. They're bringing all their best players. And ETSU has just inherited 20 transfers from Gardner-Webb. I could make a video about this. That's how my mind works. So I'll be doing stuff, research, and then I'll come across something and be like, oh my God, this is worth talking about. And at the time, you guys want to know what I was doing when I was doing this? I was looking for the best wide receivers in the FCS. Because maybe one day I have to know who they are. And that's what I was doing. FCS wide receivers who never saw the FBS. But look at there's Clifton McDowell. going to McNeese. You guys don't know McNeese is going to have a hell of a team. Clifton McDowell at quarterback. They just got Mason Pierce from Marshall. Like, I could just go in depth on some random-ass team nobody talks about. But I do. Like, that's where I live, bro. I live in this world of just obtaining information others don't have. This is why when I hear Evan Kramer, shout out to Evan Kramer, a young man, I believe he contributes and works on the Troy recruiting staff now. But Evan Kramer, a Troy student, a follower of the channel, sent me a video of, who's that guy from the SEC who talks? The old man with the bald head? The radio dude. Who's the guy that talks and he's just a homer for the SEC? You guys know who I'm talking about. Old guy. I don't watch other people's content. I'm forgetting his name. Somebody write it in the chat for me. The dude on the radio, I don't know. ESPN gave him a show and just lets him talk, and he's just a homer for Alabama. I wish somebody could tell me in the chat. Anybody know? I'm looking up top. I'm looking down low. I'm sorry for killing time here. I meant to. I should have known his name. Nobody knows. I got nobody in the chat guessing for me. This is crazy. The guy's got his own radio show. Anyways, they ask him, hey, what do you know about Troy? And he just starts tap dancing like he doesn't. Oh, Feinbaum. That's what it is. Feinbaum. That dude, Feinbaum, has no clue about sports, about football. They will talk about their SEC show. They'll talk about their SEC teams. But if you ask them a question outside of the SEC, dude was floundering. Didn't know Troy at all. And they're in Alabama, for crying out loud. Doesn't know who they are, who their new coach is, doesn't know anything. That's crazy to me. If you do this for a profession and you don't know FBS level teams, you're not ready for that conversation. It's wild. It's wild. And you know, and a guy like Evan Kramer, he writes to me and goes, Feinbaum, bro, this guy's a casual. And people think he's an expert. People think the dude's talking. You guys think these dudes who make these charts are experts. What are they doing? They're not experts. They're wrong. Let's keep it going, y'all. We've been out here. We've been at this for what? An hour and a half now. Let's get it done. We're in it for the long haul. Let's go. I know a lot of you guys are like, man, he's really going to go over every team this slow. I want to know about my team. Bruh, learn about all the teams. So, Marshall, trying their best to stay relevant with the transfer portal, go out and get all the wide receivers they could, go out and get Jordan Houston. A lot of people are predicting Jordan Houston to have a good year. NC State transfer running back. I don't think Marshall's going to be that great this year. I think it's going to be bad. The drop-off from Ollie. What the hell's wrong with me? Can't remember his name. I just like that. Boom. I almost said Ollie Gordon. Come on, Rico. He's on my list. Rashaan Ali? Rasheen Ali. Bro, I'm tripping. I'm sorry, guys. Dude, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? Caleb's got my back, man. Hey, yo, but check this out. Seriously, Marshall, for me, is going to have a drop-off. Their quarterback play is the worst. Cole Pennington, obviously his dad used to be the quarterback here. Mitch Griffiths, not good. Just transferred in from Wake Forest. Braylon Braxton, for me, is the dark horse, and then Colin actually played pretty decent in the spring game. But Braylon Braxton, the Tulsa transfer, has a chance to be a dual threat quarterback if he can figure it out. He played terrible last year. There's no other way to put it. I kept pulling for him, and he played terrible. But you got Christian Fitzpatrick coming in. I want to say this is your Penn State. No, Louisville, Michigan State. My bad. Louisville, Michigan State transfer. Braylon Brown, Chapman, Chester. All these guys. I thought it was Eric Metcalf. All these guys are not of the upper echelon in the Sun Belt. I'm not moved by this at all. I think probably the bottom half of the conference at wide receiver for Marshall. Okay. We're going to go to Maryland. Maryland wide receivers, there's Prather. There's Felton. That's cool. Not impressed with any of the wide receiver play at Maryland. I actually don't like it. They've lost way too many tight ends in the last couple years now. I don't like that either. I do like Billy Edwards Jr. I wish he would win the quarterback battle, but it looks like they're giving it to MJ Morris. Let him do it. They do have good running backs. I think Maryland's on their way down. Anytime I see a co-offensive coordinator get a DUI, their priorities are fucked. They're not focused on winning. Maryland's on their way down. UMass wide receivers. I talked to UMass. I don't think Sterling Galvin's there. I don't think Sterling Galvin's at UMass. I think he went to the excuse me. Do you see that his name is in pink and purple? Because I already talked about him. Is he at Jacksonville State? No. I swear he's somewhere else. He's not at UMass. Sterling Galvin's not at UMass. All in all, not a good wide receiver room for UMass. Nothing compared to UConn. By the way, I talk to their NIL guy every single day. Essentially every single day. Memphis for me, I'm letting you guys know now, Memphis is going to be an honorable mention. Memphis has a great wide receiver room. Rock Taylor's a 1,000-yard receiver. He's great. If you guys ever get a chance to watch Memphis next year, please stop what you're doing because I'm about to ruin the image and the style that you're used to. Okay, but listen. Rock Taylor, 1,000-yard receiver, reminds me of, and I'm going to say something crazy to some people, but Rock Taylor reminds me of Michael Irvin. He reminds me of Michael Irvin, and then you have Demir Blumpkinsey. He's the fastest player, like, on the field. I don't know about on the team, but definitely on the field. Demir Blumpkinsey, Rock Taylor, the 1-2 punch you can't mess with. Now, they did lose another kid to graduation. He started with an S last year. He's a transfer. But Kobe Drake's here. This is the wild card. This will put them over the top. Jair Shorter was a complete monster at North Texas, averaging something crazy per catch, like almost 30 yards per catch. Transferred to Auburn. It didn't work out at Auburn last year. And now he's back in the portal, and he's at Memphis. I like the move. I think they're poised to have a great season. I think that Memphis has a chance. If they can beat Florida State, they go undefeated. I think that they're really special. And it's all Seth Hennigan. He's thrown for over 3,000 yards every single year. Mario Anderson Jr. just transferred in. This is the former starting running back at South Carolina. Just transferred in the 1,400-yard rusher from Newberry, Division II. Sutton Smith is so good. It's crazy. Okay, all these guys are good. All three running backs are great. But this is a special quarterback right here in Seth Hennigan. This will be his last hurrah, and I'm excited for these guys. Dark horse to be my group of 5 representative in the playoffs. So I like Memphis' wide receiver room a lot. Going to Miami. So, Miami's wide receiver room, for me, I don't care how you put it, but Miami's number 1 for me. Number 1. You have Jacoby George. Xavier Restrepo is going to have 100 receptions. And then you got Sam Brown that just showed up. And Sam Brown is the leading receiver from Houston. So you brought in Sam Brown. Nycar flipped from Georgia to Miami. True freshman coming out of Carrollton? No. Colquitt County. Isaiah Horton is him. He's huge. Everybody's great. I like this wide receiver room. Number 1 in America. Cam Ward really helps. Cam Ward's going to get them all that. They are the truth. I like Miami's wide receiver room. When I looked at this chart and saw them 7th, I kind of gasped. I gasped and I was like, holy shit. Like, I don't know if these guys have ever looked at these wide receivers. Those 3, that starting lineup, I don't know who's better than them. These 3 right here are it. And Isaiah Horton, I think, is he 6'5"? 6'4". You can't cover that dude. And he don't even start. He don't even start. You can't cover that guy. I'm telling you. Best wide receiver room in America, Miami. It's subjective. I'm on it. I'm on the Miami hype train all day. I love Cam Ward. So do what you want with it. Miami of Ohio, bad wide receiver room. Cade McDonald transferred in from Michigan State. If you didn't know, Cade McDonald, in high school, when Peyton Thorne was the starting quarterback and they won the state title in Illinois, Peyton Thorne was the starting quarterback. The wide receivers were Jaden Reed, Cade McDonald, and Sam Jackson, the guy at Auburn, the quarterback. He was a sophomore, but these guys were older. But the three-headed monster was Cade McDonald, Jaden Reed, and Peyton Thorne. Jaden Reed's in the NFL right now playing for the Packers. So that was an all-time great offense on a high school team. And now he's at Miami of Ohio doing what he can, trying to stay relevant and finish out his career. Good guy. Means well. Brett Gabbert can throw. He's a pro. And I say he's a pro. I mean, he's got special arm talent that the other quarterbacks don't have. Hey, Maddox Kopp, Colorado transfer. For you non-Colorado fans who don't know. Colorado transfer, not bad. But, yeah, we'll see what happens. Their defense usually carries them, just so you know. They're all world linebacker right here. Matt Salopek, number 15. Go turn on the tape and watch number 15. And watch that man's going to get drafted. That man's going to get drafted. He's going to be all over my board. And if he don't get drafted, he's going to make an NFL team. Matt Salopek, I understand he's a little undersized. I don't care. That's the best player on this team. Number 15 on defense, Miami of Ohio. Get at me. Trying to keep the energy up. I apologize. Let's keep going. Michigan wide receivers, not great. They're young, they're not proven, and their quarterback play is worse. I don't believe in Alex Orji as a quarterback. I don't like anything about this wide receiver room or the quarterback. So you're not going to be able to get them the ball, even if they were good. I just don't like it. I think Michigan's passing attack and all that, I think it's going to be bad. They got good running game, but nah. Not from what I know. Michigan State, they got a good passing attack. Alante Brown, I believe that's a Nebraska transfer. Nick Marsh, they just got a lot to go with. They got Glover back. They got Gates to come back out of the portal, come back to the team. These are good players, man. They're just young. Like, your star player is Glover for me, and he's young. I love Aiden Childs as a quarterback, though, so I'll be pulling for him. I just don't think they're in the bottom half of the Big Ten when it comes to wide receivers at Michigan State. Middle Tennessee State, yikes. They lost everybody a couple years ago. Nick V's back. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the stats. Nick V sucks. Frank Peasen's back. He was in the portal, and he jumped back in. He's back to the team. I like Jay, running backs coach. He's now at Minnesota. A lot of things happened, but he ended up transferring and going to Middle Tennessee State, and he's kind of just carved himself out in the team, and I like it. Luther Rashawn, believe this guy transferred from Kentucky after not making it there. Congratulations, he's on the roster, but they don't have good quarterback play. They just don't. And the receivers leave a lot to be desired as well. I don't see anybody that I would want to talk about to get you guys hyped up on. Middle Tennessee, and I'll give them another look over come August before the season starts, because we make all our money on group of 5 games anyways. But, it doesn't feel right. Minnesota, sneaky good wide receiver room. Sneaky good wide receiver room, and people don't know it. Let's talk about it. So, last year, the only semblance of offense you saw on Minnesota was Daniel Jackson at wide receiver. Daniel Jackson, I think he had striped socks, but he was the guy that was always making plays. He had one of the best catches to win a game or whatever. But there are other players here. Christian Driver coming over from Penn State. Tyler Williams, former 4- or 5-star guy coming out of Georgia. Elijah Spencer, leading receiver at Charlotte 2 years ago. Outperformed and outproduced more than Grant DuBose, who ended up getting drafted in the 7th round by the Packers. So Elijah Spencer he reminds me a lot of Xavier Weaver out of Colorado last year. Kind of similar. Productive at another school, right? Xavier Weaver was the leading receiver at South Florida. That same year, Elijah Spencer was the leading receiver at a terrible Charlotte team. But then he transfers to Minnesota last year and doesn't get the playing time he anticipated. And I think he finished the year with either 9 receptions or 9 yards. It's 9. Something with 9. Because I remember 9 and 11. Okay, 911. Somebody called 911. Elijah Spencer had a bad year last year. So for me, I hope he has a breakout year. Having a guy like Max Brosmer, having Darius Taylor keep the box heavy. Say Bangura just transferred in from Ohio. Marcus Major just transferred in from Oklahoma. Like, they got 4 amazing running backs. 4. Because Jordan Newman showed up in injury. Those 4, though, are studs. 2 of them are NFL caliber, and Darius Taylor and Say Bangura. But Max Brosmer, out of New Hampshire, one of the best passing quarterbacks in America, and he's showing up. You're telling me he can't wing it? Now, it gets cold up there. It gets snowy. But September, October, you can still throw that thing. I like Max Brosmer. I hope he spreads the ball and gets it to some of these guys. I like the Minnesota wide receiver room. I think it's sneaky good. I think it's sneaky good. I think it's sneaky good. I'm gonna write it down, honorable mention. I wrote it down honorable. I don't care what anybody says. I know what I know. I know the players. Anybody hating on me don't know the players. Mississippi Rebels. Mississippi Rebels. The Ole Miss. All right, Rico, what you think about that Ole Miss? My number 2 wide receiver room in America. Number 2, Ole Miss. Trey Harris proved to be the biggest alpha male there ever was after he transferred in and balled out. Beanie Wells coming in from South Carolina. Studs. Okay, Jordan Watkins, studs. Everybody here can play football. Everybody here is great. White already got arrested. Norrell White already got arrested. But, yeah. Number 2, NFL guys, and then some others. I really believe in Jackson Dart getting them the ball. Caden Pryor-Scoring's going to keep some coverage on him. Daquan Wright just transferred in from Virginia Tech, going to keep coverage on him. These guys are going to put up numbers, bro. They're going to put up numbers. I have Ole Miss as my number 2 wide receiver room in America. Could change, but it's number 2 right now. I'm going to double check that. Yeah, those 2 seem more dominant than the Kentucky pair, and I like the Kentucky pair a lot. But yeah, Ole Miss number 2. I'm going to get back to the chat here in a second, y'all. Mississippi State, just young and unproven. Kelly Akari coming in from UTEP, had one really big game. I get it. Kevin Coleman, Jackson State, Louisville transfer, rated really high coming out of high school. But these are not NFL caliber guys. Jordan Mosley, I want to say, where did Mosley come from? Jordan, A&M? Northwestern. That doesn't feel right. It just doesn't feel like they're up that echelon. They're not there. I'm sure they're happy with what they have. They did well, but you can see a coaching change, and you bring in a bunch of transfers to try to answer the problem, but it's a little underwhelming when you look at the whole team. It's not quite there. So definitely not SEC caliber. It looks like a bad year on the way. Mississippi State. Missouri. So Missouri had a wide receiver jump in the transfer portal and leave, who was actually pretty good. But looking at this team, I love Luther Burden III. I don't know if Missouri is... They seem very Arizona-ish. I would put them right behind Arizona. I don't know. Let's say this. So Theo Weiss Jr., Oklahoma transfer, he feels like he needs to come into his own. But I think they're light in other areas. I think they don't have what it takes. But they got Brady Cook, who can get you the ball. And the majority of this offense was carried by Luther Burden and Schrader at running back. So can Burden take that next step and be that guy? I don't know. I like him. I think he takes the top off of a defense. I think he's special. One of the better wide receivers in America. But they're missing the 1-2 punch you need in a wide receiver room. Let me see what I'm looking at here. Yeah, it feels good right where they're at right now. So I currently have Missouri in 6th, behind Arizona. So it's Miami, Ole Miss, Kentucky, Georgia, Arizona, Missouri, Alabama, Georgia Tech, Iowa State, and then Colorado. right now. And is that 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 10. So the next team that I add to the list will push Colorado to honorable mention. Let's see here. And that was Missouri. So we're kind of on our way. Navy, not going to have a chance at wide receiver. Nebraska wide receivers. They're kind of like hand-me-down wide receivers. Jamal Banks coming in from Wake Forest. Isaiah Nair, if he's healthy, can be good. That's a transfer coming in from Texas, but he was at Wyoming before that, or UTEP. Where the hell was he? What's wrong with me? Wyoming. Who was I thinking at UTEP? Who was I thinking of? Doesn't matter. Jacob Cowling is who I was thinking about. Oof, I get them all mixed up, bro. Jacob Cowling don't play here anymore. He was at Arizona last year. But good wide receivers, not bad. Malachi Coleman is their bread and butter. Alex Bullock. Like, these are the guys they're developing and growing within their program. I still think they are 2 years away from being very relevant in the football scheme of things. Shout out to what they're building and how they're growing, right? I think that Raiola is going to grow into himself in about 2 years. Gabe Irving might still be around because I think he's taking an injury. Somebody's injured. Ramir Johnson's not bad. Dante Dowdle's there. Emmett Johnson's not bad. Like, these are good players. Emmett Johnson's good sophomore running back. One of the few guys that have a fullback on their roster. But wide receiver-wise, I think in the Big 12, it feels comparable to what Colorado built, but man, it really is. It's very comparable to Colorado, but I don't think they're in the conversation. They're right there, though. Malachi Coleman has a chance to be great. Malachi Coleman and Jalen Lloyd have a chance to really shine. Shout out to them. I think they're just a couple years away from being in the relevant conversation, if you will, for Nebraska. Nevada's got no chance. Once upon a time, Nevada had an amazing wide receiver room. 3 years ago. I'm not kidding. Nate Burleson II is here. And I haven't even watched their tape yet. I know Spencer Lovell from Arizona State. I know the team, but I haven't sat down and rewatched all their tape. Colorado transfer and Brendan Lewis. Purdy, Nebraska transfer. Sean Dollars, former Mater Dei running back. Oregon transfer. Patrick Garwood III, good running back, good player. Injury prone, but good player. Boston College transfer. I know the team well. I just need to sit down and watch their tape, so I don't want to say anything negative about the wide receivers. They're just not in the conversation, is what I'll say. I haven't gotten to them this offseason. I will. Just haven't gotten to them. New Mexico, new coaching staff. Obviously, Bronco Mendenhall is the new coach. And they brought in some players, but once again, not really in the conversation. Most of the players they brought in last year didn't pan out and didn't work out, and obviously their coach left, their offensive coordinator. Andrew Henry's still here. This is a former, I think, ULM running back or FCS running back. Javen Jacobs can play. I like Javen Jacobs. Eli Sanders can play. Good for him. Eli Sanders. Are we talking about Iowa State, Eli Sanders? Yes. I didn't know he transferred over here. Go to New Mexico. Go where you want it. If you can't start in New Mexico, man, what are we doing? That's good. Good for him. Shout out to Eli. New Mexico State, going to be trash this year. Lost your whole team and your coaching staff. No wide receivers are left. It's going to be rough. I don't like their chances. New Mexico State's wide receiver room is gross. Let's keep going. North Carolina, Tar Heels. You would assume they have decent wide receivers, and they don't. You'd be wrong. Paysor, Nate McCollum, complete stud. Nate McCollum, complete stud. What are we doing? I'm not sold on anybody else. Maybe they get Jake Johnson in the rotation. It's a tight end driven thing, and it's going to be running the ball. Omarion Hampton, tight ends. Max Johnson is going to dink and dunk his way and not go deep. And they're not going to utilize their wide receiver. They don't have the wide receiver room you'd imagine. They're not quite there. NC State, good wide receiver room. Good wide receiver room. Ohio State transferred Noah Rogers. Kevin Concepcion came out and played great. Wesley Grimes transferred in from Wake Forest. Dakari Collins transferred in from Clemson, 6'4". I wanted to check his height. Noah Rogers, Ohio State. Wesley Grimes, Wake Forest. They got big wide receiver. I like this wide receiver room at NC State. I like it, bro. They look real. They almost look. I think they're better than Colorado. That's for sure. NC State's wide receiver room is great. Kevin Concepcion can play running back. He can do anything. So that makes you the X factor here. And then you see it here. Wide receiver Y, instead of putting him at tight end, it's Justin Jolly. And if you didn't see Justin Jolly play at UConn last year, then you don't know why he's so great and why he's considered, like, he was the best tight end. So they're moving him out to the outside. They got a real weapon here. This is a good wide receiver room. Very Georgia Tech-ish. Right? And I have Georgia Tech right behind Alabama. Very Georgia Tech-ish. Freak athletes at wide receiver that can make it happen and beat you downfield. I like NC State's wide receiver room. That's pretty sweet. Didn't expect that. North Texas lost a lot of their players, brought in a ton of guys. Nobody, this is not it. They're not the same wide receiver room they were last year. They're going to have to prove to me that they deserve to be here on the list. Right now, I'm not sold. Shout out to Eric Morris, though. He's a great coach, and he knows what he's doing with his team. Northern Illinois, no. Never any good wide receivers, really. Kenji Lewis coming in, but nobody else. Oh, Rudolph. Yeah, Rudolph can play. Rudolph and Lewis can play, but it's not. Man, they're just so. You get to some of these MAC teams, you're like, damn. It's just not it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to go as fast as possible. Want to make sure I pull everybody. Northwestern does not have wide receivers to play in the Big Ten. Yes, they have Calvin Johnson II. They have A.J. Henning, the transfer from Michigan, but they're not ready to do anything of note at wide receiver, and especially quarterback, if I'm being real. Notre Dame, and I'm going to go back to the chat. Notre Dame. A lot of people think Notre Dame's got that team. Jaden Greathouse is great. Five-star kid coming out of high school, played well last year. Chris Mitchell, transfer coming in from FIU, was the only player on FIU that was a semblance of offense. Jaden Thomas can play. Bo Collins transferring in and experience from Clemson. I don't think this team is worth mentioning, though, at wide receiver. I don't see it. Not yet. No, there's better teams. They're not it. Sorry. Not there. My dog's drinking water, by the way. All right, I'll go back to the chat real quick, and then we'll get to talking about Ohio Bobcats and Ohio State coming up. So, by the way, Ohio, they better get their back off the wall. Parker Navarro's their starting quarterback, transfer from UCF. They're not going to get it there. Ricky Hunt played well. Anthony Tyus, that's a transfer from Northwestern, played well. Yeah, this is going to be bad. Okay, let me go back to the chat. Let's go back. Feinbaum. Chandler Martin mentioned him a while ago when he transferred to Memphis, and he led them in tackles. Dude's a dog. Who are we talking about? I don't remember who you're talking about. Rasheen Ali, Baltimore Raven. Is Robbie Ashford still playing quarterback? Robbie Ashford's not playing. Rocco Glaze. I mean, I don't know what position he's playing, but if he is playing quarterback, he's backing up Lenore Sellers? What the hell's wrong with me? Seth Hennigan is a stud. Yes, he is. Sutton Smith is a dog, too. McEachern product. Oh, I didn't even realize. That's on me. I should have known that. Look at that. Horton might be the best of the bunch, Rico. Hey, I told you that Miami dudes ain't no joke. Naperville Central with Reed. There you go. Horatio Fields will be a star. Okay, I feel you. We're going to find out, Jacob. You won't find this information on ESPN, on 324/7, PFF, Rivals, or anywhere. This is why we follow RicoKnows. The work does not go unnoticed. Thank you, Connor. I appreciate you, man. That Missouri wide receiver core is absurd. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Colorado should be top 5. Yeah, they should if other teams didn't have wide receivers. If other teams didn't have wide receivers, your best wide receiver can't be from Vandy, bro. Your best wide receiver can't be from FAU. If your best wide receivers are from Vandy and FAU, you don't have the best wide receiver core. They weren't the best when they were at their previous schools. They weren't the best in their conference. They weren't all conference first team. They weren't it. So magically they all come together, and then you go, yeah, we got. It's like saying their offensive line is great, and you go and look, and the transfers are from UConn, UTEP, Houston. Like, you're like, oh wait, hold on. I thought we had the best. No, you don't. You have good players. You have good players. Individually, some good players. Collectively, it's not comparable. There are 3 guys at Ole Miss right now that not a single wide receiver at Colorado can touch. And we can do that with every team. We go to Ohio State, same thing. There are 3 guys at Ohio State better than any singular player at Colorado. Wide receivers. 3. I go 3 deep at a bunch of schools. Georgia, Miami, Texas, all of them. So it's when you say top 5, it's like you don't understand. You don't have any top 5 players. You don't have any of those guys. Somebody lied to you. You guys read too much of your own headlines, and you don't assess other talented players and other rosters. I want you to sit here and learn. Like, this whole thing is not about debate. This is about educate. I'm here to educate you about other teams. Learn about other teams before you retort in the chat over and over with your favorite team being number 1. Like, just stop and just learn. There are like 6 wide receivers at Ohio State better than anything you got. It's the truth. They aren't very deep, but that top 3 is nice. Yeah. Missouri, yeah, for sure. Sorry about that. I just hear people say Ohio State has the best receiver room. Casual take. It's not a casual take. They're very good. That's better than Colorado. Colorado got Shador, though. Any quarterback that completes their passes is very comparable. How great do you think Brady Cook is? Like how bad do you think Brady Cook is? Brady Cook is a dual threat quarterback better than Shador Sanders. Right now. Brady Cook can extend the play with his legs, keep the play going, doesn't get sacked. It's not because his offensive line's better. It's because Brady Cook is a dual threat athlete. Shador Sanders is not. There are quarterbacks that can throw the ball and complete passes. Once again, you guys are all just uninformed. It's all it is. And you don't want to be informed. That's the worst part about it. You don't even want to learn. When we start talking about top quarterbacks, you don't even want to learn why Shador Sanders isn't a top 5 quarterback. You don't even want to hear it. And it's crazy. Because if we had tryouts tomorrow, he's not starting. He's never tried out for quarterback. Never in his life has he competed to be a starting quarterback. Haynes King has competed every year to be a starting quarterback. Haynes King is 100 times better than Shador Sanders. Haynes King shows up and beats people out. He beat 4 quarterbacks at Texas A&M. You guys don't study this shit, and you think, oh, we got better quarterback. No. Georgia Tech has better wide receivers and a better quarterback, but they have the hardest schedule of anybody in any conference. The ACC, fucking Georgia Tech plays Georgia every year, and they're playing Florida State and Miami and Louisville, and it makes you think, oh, they're not very good because they only won 5 games. But if you go watch them, they're utterly amazing. West Virginia has a better quarterback than Colorado. Garrett Green is amazing. You don't care. You're a homer. What you think about Keelan Russell flipping his commitment from SMU to Alabama? I really don't care. Recruits flip their commitments all the time. Doesn't mean he's going to play for Alabama. Said he's not taking any more trips. You don't need to take a trip if you're going to SMU. You don't need to take a trip if you're going to flip back to SMU. Doesn't matter. These kids all change their mind every single day. If I wasted energy worrying about where somebody was going and then he flipped and I made videos about all that shit, I'd be exhausted, bro. And I'd be one of these stupid-ass recruiting websites. Hard pass. Thanks for the info, Rico. I never liked rivals at 24/7. They always seem off. I don't necessarily know if they're off. They're wave tops. They don't dig deep enough. Best group of 5 wide receiver group is Fresno State. Cade, Calentano. I would say they're probably in the conversation for top 10 in the group of 5. Off the top of my head, group of 5 wide receiver room so far that we've seen: UConn, Memphis, obviously Memphis, UConn, group of 5, Fresno State. Those 3 stick out to me right now. I might be missing one, but those 3 stick out to me for wide receiver rooms: UConn, Fresno State, Memphis. Tulane's got their work cut out. We'll find out right now. Colorado State. My bad, dude. I'm tripping. Colorado State, Memphis, UConn, Fresno State. Those 4 so far from the group of 5 for sure. Zayden Walker just committed to UGA. Congratulations. Elijah Lofton, Swiss Army knife for the Miami. Allow me to retort. What are your thoughts on USF this upcoming season? I don't really think about them that much. I think they have a good coach. Alex Golish is doing great. Byron Brown is him, and I hope they keep it all together and try their best. Shador, first-round draft pick. Evan, I try not to predict draft picks because we have no control over that. NFL teams will draft according to need and what they want and need and stuff. If you had asked me last year to predict the first-round draft picks, I would have never said Bo Nix, right? I would have never said a couple of guys. But what I will say is it happens with team needs and who they want to draft. It is what it is. So is Shador a first-round draft pick quarterback? Sure he is. Is he a first-round talent? Is he like one of the best 32 players in the country? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think that there's an enamoration with – I can't draft a quarterback that's won 4 games in his FBS career. I can't draft a quarterback who doesn't know how to do choice routes or is limited in his offensive scheme. Like he said, that's not my scheme. That's not my style of play. Well, if we get to the NFL and we start calling choice routes and that's not your style of play, now you put a limitation on the offensive scheme we can call. I think that's a problem. I want to find players that can do it all. I want a first-round draft pick quarterback. I want a guy who has no limitations. I want a guy that can do it all, and I don't think he can. So, very accurate passer, just not – I mean, there's a lot of those. There's a lot of accurate passers. It's not what it is for me. Waiting to hear your thoughts on UCF wide receiver. Already did it, Rocco Glaze. It was under Central Florida. Rewind the show. Go watch it. Can you break down Colorado wide receiver room? Evan, go rewind it. I already talked about him. You think Jalen Milroe takes a jump this year? No. I think, what kind of jump? He's in the playoffs. The team was in the playoffs. And he was the reason their offense moved the ball. I don't understand what kind of jump we're looking for. Is he taking a Jaden Daniels type jump? I don't think so. I think he's learning a new offense, a new offensive scheme. He lost 5 wide receivers to the NFL, transfer portal, graduation. Like, it's going to be rough in that regard. He's a good player. He's fine. He's dynamic. But I don't think he's taking a jump. I think he's in line with how good he is. Mario Williams better ball out at Tulane. Not necessarily. Tulane's a very difficult team to play at, and it's tough to predict how good you're going to be. Tulane had 2 wide receivers this year better than Mario Williams. So even if Mario Williams shows up to Tulane, he's not any better than what they just had. They just had 2 wide receivers better than him last year, and a great quarterback in Pratt. So you lose your great quarterback and you lose 2 great wide receivers, and Mario Williams shows up from USC, from Oklahoma, and you say he better be good at Tulane. It's like, what? You don't study Tulane? You don't even know what that means. You're under the impression it's a USC guy transferring to Tulane. He should go dominate. That's not how it works. The wide receivers at Tulane were actually very dominant, and they're backfilling with somebody who's not as good as them. You guys got to study rosters, man. You guys got to know these players. I'm going to get back to the charts here. So looking at Ohio, like I said, they don't have anything at wide receiver worth noting. And then we get to Ohio State. And arguably, Ohio State has the best wide receiver room talent-wise. Obviously, all very, very highly ranked guys coming out of high school. You got Emeka coming back for another year. Jeremiah Smith already earned his way into the starting lineup. Cardinal Tate's there. This wide receiver room looks pretty solid. Let me say this. If I was looking at the chart, I got to put them probably ahead of Alabama. Behind Missouri, ahead of Alabama. So if I do that, then they're saying, well, they can't be behind Arizona. Right? So now, are they better than Georgia? And I don't think so. I don't think their wide receiver room is better than Georgia's. Very close. Very close. But I like guys who've actually played on Saturdays. I like the Ra Thomases of the world. I like guys who play on Saturdays. Not dudes who were ranked very highly and haven't got to play at all. I can't go with that. I also don't think Will Howard's going to get them the ball as much as anticipated. A lot of this has to go when you look at that quarterback room and you say Carson Beck's going to get it to those receivers. I don't think Will Howard will. They can take it to the house on a short pass. Don't get me wrong. The box will be loaded to stop Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. But don't get me wrong. I just think Will Howard is not as good as some of the others. So I'm going to go ahead and move Ohio State behind Georgia. I understand people don't think too highly of Kentucky's wide receiver room, but I just think Barry Brown is very special. Look at Kentucky's not even in this top 10. It's weird. It's weird. Nobody's better than Barry Brown, bro. Like, if we lined up, Barry Brown's better than you guys. Like, he's better than all these guys. He's that good. Let's go. Let's see. Sorry for all the ads on the screen. Next wide receiver room. Oklahoma. Oklahoma's wide receiver room is the bee's knees. I want to tell you top to bottom, Oklahoma's wide receiver room, for me, looks better and more experienced and they look better than Ohio State's. I'm telling you, Deion Burks at Purdue last year, when you got to find the video. I was watching Purdue and I was telling the MVPs how we're going to bet on this. And I said, man, Purdue's got one NFL wide receiver in Deion Burks. And now he comes and he shows up. And I'm telling you, Jackson Arnold can get the ball to his wide receivers. Nick Anderson is amazing. Deion Burks is solid, like very good. The 1-2 punch here is real. And then you have Andrew Anthony from Michigan, Farouk, senior Latin guy. Like, you got four guys. Four guys. I got to put them third. I got Miami, Ole Miss, and I'm going to Oklahoma. I actually like them that much. I really like Nick Anderson and Deion Burks. I don't like them better than the Kentucky. I don't like them better than the Kentucky duo. Somebody better put some respect on Kentucky. All right, hold on. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That moves Iowa State, NC State, Colorado, all to honorable mention at this point. Give me a second. I'm going to be showing you guys the chart here at the end. NC State, Iowa State got pushed to honorable mention. And Alabama, Georgia Tech have a chance to get pushed to honorable mention as well, because I know Texas is still there, and you guys better wake up. Texas Tech has a room. All right, Oklahoma's real. Wide receivers are studs. Oklahoma State, I think Oklahoma State needs to be respected in their wide receiver room. You have Brendan Presley. Yes, he's only a slot receiver. He's not your typical deep threat guy, but Brendan Presley had over 100 receptions last year and really, really showed out. And coming back for his senior year, I think Brendan Presley is going to go down in the history books as one of the greatest wide receivers in Oklahoma State history. And that's saying something because they got a whole list of great guys. Deshaun Stribling coming in. This is a transfer from Washington State. Double check that. I'm pretty sure. Yes. Stud. Good player. And then you got Rashad Owens. I think they're honorable mention. Presley alone gets you honorable mention. He really does. And as much as we make fun of Alan Bowman did throw for 3,000 yards. He did throw for north of 3,000 yards. Alan Bowman also has a running back that's going to keep the box extremely heavy, and it's going to help you out. So, oh man, we still got Oregon. ODU, not good. Wide receiver room just lost two of their best receivers. It's not good. I don't see the answers here. They're gonna struggle. I don't like ODU's offense at all. Even quarterback and running back room, gonna struggle. I don't see them putting a big dent in anything this year. Let's go to Oregon. Oregon. Oh my God. Top to bottom. Whew. Oregon is very comparable to Miami. Probably better than Ole Miss. Trayshawn Holden, Arizona transfer, good for 7 touchdowns every single year. Evan Stewart coming in from Texas A&M. Tez Johnson coming in from Troy, and he's been there 2 years now. Gary Bryant Jr., former 4-star, shout out to Corona Centennial, coming in from USC. Jurion Dickey's here. I mean, it looks stacked, bro. I think they're there, man. I think they're there. I think they're number 2. Are they better than Miami? They got to be better than Miami. Yeah, Oregon's 1. Oregon's 1. That's better than Miami. And let me say something to you guys. You want to compare this room to Colorado? Like everybody in the chat always talks about Colorado. Colorado's best wide receivers are over here. Like they're not starting on this team. Colorado's best wide receivers are not starting on this team. Gary Bryant Jr. would go to Colorado and dominate that wide receiver room. That's a former 4-star, played at USC, and he's been on the field. He's been in the rotation everywhere. And he would dominate at Colorado. These three, it's apples to oranges, man. You got to watch the film. It's a real talent. That pushes Georgia Tech to honorable mention. Ooh-wee. And it's not looking good for Alabama or Missouri at this point. All right. Oregon's beast. Wide receivers look great. And obviously they have a quarterback that's going to get them the ball. Oregon State. It's going to be bad. Not good wide receiver room. It's just not good. It's the reality of the situation. I love their quarterback play. I'm trying to figure out why Javon McCoy hasn't won the quarterback job over Ben Roberson. Jabari Johnson should be second string. Like, these guys should be up there. But it still looks bad. Excuse me. I need to shave. My mustache is bugging me. And I don't even know about that. I'll get back to the chat here shortly. Thank you guys for being here. We're at Pease now. We're at Penn State. Penn State wide receiver room looks anemic. It looks gross. Not good. Julian Fleming coming in from Ohio State. That's what I'm trying to talk about. You have a backup at Ohio State can show up to Penn State and be the starter. It's just not good, though. Andrew Allar takes care of the ball, but he's not him. Not him at all. Don't like Penn State's wide receiver room. Don't get excited about it, even a little bit. Pittsburgh Pittsburgh, quietly. Pittsburgh's kind of sneaky good, y'all. So Pittsburgh got a new offensive coordinator from Western Carolina. He brought in his 2 wide receivers right here. Sensor Lee coming in from the FCS level. And then Raphael Williams, who was actually at Western Carolina 2 years ago. But he transferred to San Diego State last year. And then he transfers over here to come with his coach. None of this matters. These guys are studs, and they're not even starting. Because Kenyatta Mumfield is great. He's a good wide receiver right here. Dejon Reynolds, good. These are very, very, I'm going to tell you right now, this is Colorado-esque talent, but people don't realize it. These players are just as good as the Colorado wide receivers, and they don't even talk about it like that, but they are. Okay? Nate Yarnell's a good quarterback. He finally ended up becoming the starter, outperformed Eli Holstein this spring. Eli looked bad this spring, by the way. Alabama transfer. I like Eli a lot. Louisiana kid. Love him a lot. Desmond Reed, Western Carolina transfer again, showing up, but Rodney Hammond's got that job. They've got some pieces. They lost a lot of defenders to South Carolina and Colorado, but they've got these receivers that look pretty good. You go watch the tape. Mumfield's sneaky good. And when I say sneaky good, I'm talking NFL draft pick good. I'm talking good. Okay? To see the FCS studs transfer in and not start should tell you something. But it's the ACC, and Pitt's going to have an uphill battle. I like their team. I like their team this year, and I know a lot of people aren't talking about it, but I like Pitt's team this year. I do. MVPs, no. MVPs, go check the chart. I have a chart. There he is. There's your secret weapon right here. Jamal Edrin. Now, if Jamal's healthy, that's a complete stud. If he's healthy. He tore his ACL last year, didn't play at all last year. Purdue has Hudson Card at quarterback. They got good running backs. Reggie Love just transferred in, was the starting running back at Illinois, transferring in, following his old coaching staff. Remember, this whole coaching staff came from Illinois for the most part. Devin Maccabee, been a 900-yard rusher since his freshman year. Wingfield comes in, stud transfer portal player that most people wanted to block. So they're trying to find the answers in the transfer portal. Wide receivers, Denylon Morissette didn't pan out at Georgia. Good Georgia kid. But my goodness, is Jamal Edrin special. All in all, not the best wide receiver room in the world. Not that great, but Jamal Edrin is him. Never forget the name. I evaluated him one day 2 years ago, and I said, oh, my God. That's a guy. Oh, by the way, he was the alpha male at FAU. He was the star receiver at FAU. And then when he left, that gave Western more reps. So just so you guys know. Rice, bad wide receiver room. It got worse. Obviously, they lost McCaffrey. They got a good running back room, though. And they don't have it here. Dean Connor, they got a transfer running back from the FCS. Complete stud. Cole Bennett. I think Bennett. Cole Bennett's his name. Something Bennett. Just a complete stud. Bennett Coleman. Bennett something. I got it on my chart. I got it on my notes. Rutgers. All right. Best FCS transfer I've seen so far on tape is Demir Miller. He's a complete monster. Stud. Love everything about him. They have a 6'7" wide receiver somewhere on tape. Nazim Brantley coming in the FCS transfer, I'm sure. Where'd he come from? Yeah, Western Illinois Sacred Heart. These guys are okay. Quarterback play's been trash at this school for a long time. Obviously, Gavin Wimsatt just transferred to Kentucky. They can't throw the ball. Wide receiver room is not good at Rutgers. Just letting you know. Love Demir Miller. Love his tape. Stud. Explosive. Sneaky good. Not sure how he got to Rutgers, but congratulations. That's a good wide receiver. And they need more of those guys. Sam Houston. Man, Sam Houston always has good running backs. Wide receivers leave a lot to be desired. Running backs. Oh, hey, John Gentry. North Shore. Utah State, North Shore. Let's go click on it and let's find out. John Gentry. Utah State, North Shore. Utah State, North Shore High School. There it is. If I could name your previous school and your high school, I'm doing all right. Shout out to me. Not good wide receiver room. Shout out to Grant Gunnell, though. Hopefully he plays well. We'll see what happens with Sam Houston. It's a mystery. And these websites don't know Group of 5 teams really well. See how it's all blank? They don't really know. They don't know who the depth chart is. You get to a group, you get to a Power 5 team, they know all the players, all the teams because of the coaching staff and everything else. You get to these teams, they don't really know them that well. I have to dig around on beat writers, local newspapers, and other stuff before I know what's going on at these teams. But I can tell you that the wide receiver rooms at some of these schools aren't good. This one's going to be pretty decent. This one's going to be interesting. Shout out to Sean Lewis, former offensive coordinator from Colorado, former Kent State head coach, got the head coaching job at San Diego State, and now you get Deshaun Polk to follow you. Deshaun Polk was your kickoff returner, your special teams guy. I wonder if they have it down here. Now, you see, they don't know. He's the kickoff returner. He's the guy. He's a returnman, really, but he's also a receiver. Left Kent State, went to West Virginia, didn't play there last year, but he's here now with his old coach. Lewis Brown is just a local California kid who wanted to come back home. He was actually in the rotation and very good at Colorado State. He was part of the Colorado State wide receiver room that was good. It was Lewis Brown, Justice Ross Simmons, and Torrey Horton. So watching him come to San Diego State is pretty cool. This is going to be pretty decent. Now, do they have the right quarterback in A.J. Duffy to get the ball to these guys? I don't know. But I know that the part of the plan is going to get the ball to Marquez Cooper all day long. Quez Cooper, human joystick, Kenan Christian, transfer from USC. These guys are speed demons, great players. Cooper's a little small guy. Back-to-back 1,200-yard rusher at Kent State. Transferred to Ball State last year. Didn't work out, and now here he is again. So San Diego State has optimism on the offensive side of the ball. We'll see what they do with it, but they have optimism on the offensive side of the ball. Shout out to them. Wide receiver room doesn't look that great, though. San Jose State, Justin Lockhart. These guys don't move me. Nick Nash, obviously, is the big play threat. This is a guy who used to play quarterback. He's tall, 6'3". He could be taller than that. How tall is he? So, yeah, he's 6'3". Yeah, see. Sometimes you got to know players' heights and stuff off the dome. So he's 6'3", but the rest of these guys, we're going to see what they do. You know, they got Coach Ken Nehemiah Talola, the former Navy coach, coming back, getting back in the swing of things. I like where they're headed. I don't think they're going to be relevant this year. So we'll see what that is. But their wide receiver room looks bad for the Mountain West. We'll keep going. We're almost there, guys. I'm going to go to chat after I finish the S's. Hang in there with me. There's a lot of S's. SMU. You better ask somebody. SMU's offense is special. SMU's one of the best. They were one of the best group of 5 teams. Now they're in the ACC. Jalen Knight at running back doesn't really move me all that much. They call him Rooster. He's got skinny legs, bro. But Rooster's there. LJ Johnson doesn't move me all that. Kamar Wheaton's good. He's good. Preston Stone's good. This is an NFL player right here. RJ Maryland, Russell Maryland's son. RJ Maryland's the best tight end out there. One of the top 10 tight ends for me in the NFL draft. If he declares, RJ Maryland's a mismatch nightmare in the red zone. Wide receivers all look the same at SMU. They are beasts, bro. They are beasts. You know what? This is such a good room. I got to put it on the list. It's so good. So you got Keyshawn Smith transferring in from Miami, Romello Brinson, Joker coming in from Miami, Jack Bailey. These are like what's the high school? Duncanville. These are Duncanville guys, man. Roderick Daniels, Duncanville, Moochie Dixon, Jordan Hudson transferred in from TCU. These are guys you can't cover, bro. These are guys you can't handle right here. These are I can't handle all these ads. These are studs. And then Ashton Kozart just transferred in from Oregon. All 4 5-star guys coming out of high school. Just, they got a great wide receiver room. And it's so deep. For me, this looks complete. This looks like a complete wide receiver room. When I look at it, I see 6 guys, 7, 8 guys that I know by name because of how good they are. Not because of recruiting websites, because of how they play. I know of these guys because of what they do on the field. All of them are studs. These are dudes the Cowboys sign as undrafted free agents. That's who they are. They're studs. SMU's wide receiver room is not to be played with. Don't you forget it. And their tight end, RJ Maryland's going to have double coverage in the red zone. So something's going to happen there. SMU going to have a really good passing attack. South Alabama obviously just lost their leading receiver, so they're still left with the Voicing brothers. They still got Devin Voicing here. He's good, but everybody else leaves a lot to be desired, kind of, sort of. They're not bad. It's just they're not voicing good. And obviously their leading receiver went to Louisville. So they'll bounce back as best they can. It's just not the same. Look, it's night and day looking at SMU to some of these teams. And they all used to play against each other. South Carolina. Hey, South Carolina. All right, so I'm gonna tell you right now, this room is better than Alabama's. This room is better than Alabama's right now. South Carolina, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They're 10th on my list right now. You got Nick Harbor. Nicholas Harbor, have you guys seen the clips of him in track? This man runs a 10, 200 meters, and he's enormous. He's a freak of nature. He's 6'5", 240, and he's faster than everyone. 6'5", 240, faster than everyone. Bruce Huggins, or Huggins Bruce, Amari Huggins Bruce, one of the leading receivers leaving Louisville last year. Jamari Thrash, Amari Huggins Bruce, studs. But the wild cards for me, Jared Brown and Gage Larvadain. The fact that Gage Larvadain just transferred in and is not starting is crazy. This is a young man that started his career at Southeastern Louisiana, the Lions. Was a great basketball player, kickoff returner, punt returner. Gage Larvadain transfers up to Miami of Ohio and balls out before getting injured. Balls out. Gage Larvadain is him. And then he shows up to the SEC. I don't blame him. But Jared Brown, Coastal Carolina, that guy right there is a problem. That guy right there, people don't understand. Instantly top 10 wide receiver in the SEC just because he transferred in. But those four, that's a loaded room, and there's others. But my whole thing is this. How good is Lenora Sellers? I hope he's great. I believe in Lenora Sellers. Obviously, the running back room is what it is. I told you guys Oscar Attaway transferred in, and they said he's the guy. Ayo Adehi is the guy. Okay? Ajayi? AJ Adehi? I'm bad with names, bro. I'm just letting you know. Jawarin Howell coming in from South Carolina State. Turn on the tape. Hey, turn on the tape. Jawarin Howell is him. And obviously Rocket Sanders is there. This team looks poised to do some shit. Joshua Simon, transfer from Western Kentucky. Used to have 7 touchdowns in a year at tight end. If their offensive line can come out and play great, they got the receivers. They got the running backs. They got Gilbert Edmond back on the edge. They look real. They look nice. Getting DeAndre Jules coming in and you're not starting him is crazy because he pops on tape out of Pitt. Kamara, Bengali Kamara, out of Pitt, stud. Demetrius Knight, dominated at Charlotte. All these guys are great, man. Buddy Mack, Pitt transfer. Kilgore, his older brother transferred in. This from Tennessee Tech. Jalen Kilgore is a stud. They brought in his brother. Hey, we got to keep this guy on the roster. What can we do? Bring in his brother. Nick is Nick, the big Nick. Hey, Nick right here. Aman Wari, NFL. Top three rounds. I don't know where they draft safeties. I'm taking Nick right now, bro. Vakari Swain. Remember when he was coming out of high school, out of Carrollton? Yeah, Colorado wanted him. He ended up going to South Carolina. This is a loaded team. South Carolina, sneaky good. Sneaky good, and the wide receiver room is honorable mention for me. Or, I'm sorry, they're top 10 right now. They're going to move down to honorable mention because of Texas. But South Carolina, bro, mother flipping problem. Wait till you guys learn about Gage Larvadain and see him in action. And he's not even starting. South Florida, wide receivers. Sean Atkins, good. Naeem Simmons had a good game last year. Not consistent enough. I like him. Michael Brown-Stevens, good. Good players. Tyree Kelly, good. All these guys are fine. It's group of 5. They're probably in the 7, 8, 9 range for best wide receiver room, and Byron Brown's going to get them the ball. Byron Brown is him. Naquan Wright, former 4-star Florida transfer. They got some players. And they got a hell of a coach. Alex Golesh knows what he's doing. So I like South Florida a lot. Sorry, guys. We're going to finish the S's and then go back to the chat. Southern Miss. Terrible. Terrible quarterback room. Nothing new here. It just never gets better. And the quarterback play, if you believe Tate Rodemaker's the answer, you're very unique in that regard. I think this team is going to struggle. And that's something Will Hall's going to have to deal with. And that's the head coach at Southern Miss. Stanford and Syracuse are left. Stanford, I like their wide receivers. There's a freshman coming in. Let me show you guys something. Sorry about that. So I go to watch tape on Stanford because obviously I love Elijah Brown. This was my favorite quarterback coming out of high school last year. Elijah Brown, 4-year starter at Modern Day, reminds me a lot of Bryce Young. So I like Elijah Brown a lot, but I want to go turn on the tape. And when I turn on the tape, this kid right here, Emmett Mosley the fifth. I don't know how he's 3 stars. He was 4 stars. They reduced him. They don't know what they're doing. Emmett Mosley the fifth is the guy. I'm going to keep looking. It's Emmett Mosley the fifth and everybody else. Michael Ford's good, by the way. But Emmett Mosley, when I watched the tape, I said, oh, that's him. Now I get to say this is the best 3-star wide receiver coming out, the best 3-star player. They're not respecting him. His tape is real. So shout out to Stanford. They do have some recruits coming in, some big name guys, some superstars. But when you look at the team right now, you're looking at a guy, and Ellick obviously got on the map because he dominated Travis Hunter in that game when they came back to win. Tiger Bachmeier, this is Hank Bachmeier's little brother. There's Tiger, and I think they got another brother named River or something. He's good. He's good-ish. But these guys, they're not good enough to be talking about in the ACC. So it's not one of the better rooms out there. I like what they're doing. Syracuse. Getting some transfers. Zeed Hayes coming in from Georgia. Jackson Meeks. I'm not impressed with this wide receiver room at all. They have a lot to try to figure out. The quarterback play is going to be okay, but not great. LaQuint Allen is a stud. Everybody's banking on Oronde Gadsden coming back and being great. Dan Villari was the quarterback towards the end of the season. He was a quarterback when he transferred from Michigan, and he's now the tight end. They have good tight end play. Maximilian Maine can play. Villari can play. They have good tight ends. Wide receiver room leaves a lot to be desired. I'm not excited about wide receiver room. Defensively, I like a lot of these players. Obviously, my favorite is Devin Grant. Devin Grant is a 6'4 safety who they moved him a corner? That's weird. Complete stud. Deuce Chestnut coming back to his old team where he was all conference. Stud. Jaden Gould transferred in with his teammate Jaden Bellamy. They played high school ball together. One of them went to Notre Dame. One of them went to Nebraska. After 1 year, they came back, and they're here. So, this team has a lot of continuity, and they know each other. Yeah, I like it. Defensive line coach came over, defensive coordinator from Texas A&M, brought Fadil Diggs with him. Deion Wilson's a huge man up front, played at New Mexico State last year, if I remember correctly. New Mexico State and Arizona, but he's New Mexico State last year. So, all in all, Syracuse looks more ahead of the curve defensively than offensively, at least for now. I don't see it at the wide receiver room. I'm not too excited about it. And then we'll get to the chat, and then I'll try to finish up the chart after the chat. We'll leave it on TCU when I go to the chat here in a second. Just want to see it real quick. Just want to see it. Oh, buddy. That's crazy. All right. So, back to the chat. Go back. UConn on the rise. What up, Colin Bolin? They are. I just like the fact that no one from the Big 12 is there. And if we did quarterback, no one from the Big 12 would be on that list either. That's not true, Rayshawn Terrell. Quarterback, Noah Fafita should be on the list. I believe there's really good quarterbacks in the Big 12. And the fact that no one from the Big 12 is there, I don't know what you're talking about. They're there. Colorado's down there. But I don't think Colorado belongs in the top 10, no. What are you talking about, Rico? I'm talking about the best wide receiver rooms What website is he using? I'm using R Lads, but like I told you guys, R Lads is not very accurate. They are missing a lot of players. They don't have them in the right order. They're missing certain transfers. They're missing certain freshmen. Sometimes they'll have a player that's not even there at the school anymore. It all depends. The more popular the team, the more likely they are to have it right. But there are many times they have it wrong. But they're the best website because they have a good format to show you every single team. But it's not it. Like, they're working on it, but they need to hire me to do their QA, QC. I need to do their quality assurance, quality control. I just realized what the bee's knees means. I'm going to use that. Okay, there you go. Alan Bowman has been around forever. This is very true, Bendejo. Travis Hunter won't start on Oregon, really? Yes, really, Jeremy Mitchell, really. Can't wait to see where UConn is. I already talked about UConn. Rewind the show. They were under C, Connecticut. I got to know about the hometown. What about Cincinnati? I went alphabetical, so go back, rewind the show. You will find C, Cincinnati. They are currently on my honorable mention list, just so you're clear. I thought Jordan Hudson had little to zero production last season. He probably did, Kairos MMA, but I've watched tape on him. I've already assessed his talent. I'm not too sure what his stats look like. When you can't play at SMU, that's not a bad thing. They're complete studs. So it's not the end of the world. It's red. I've looked it up before. It's purple. I've looked it up before. No, he had very good production. What are we talking about? You guys got to understand. 400 yards as a sophomore, that's very good. 7 touchdowns? Oh, this is very good. Shit. This man was out there doing his thing. That's better than a lot of guys. With the team that's loaded, with all those singers, oh, man. Yeah, he did nothing but he doubled his production everywhere. Yeah, this guy's a stud. And I watched his tape. I'm not too worried about stats. I'm looking at this from a talent standpoint, if you will. So I like Jordan Hudson a lot. Excited to see your thoughts on Utah. We never really have the best receivers. You have them from here to there. Nick Harbor might be the real DK clone, not Leggett. Nick Harbor's something, bro. I think he's bigger than DK. Won't have more wins than Colorado. Then Colorado does what? You wrote THEN? THEN is telling me something's going to happen next. THAN is when you're comparing things. So if you're comparing that somebody won't have more wins than Colorado, it's THAN. You have the wrong word there. So Flex Nation, it looks a little ridiculous what you just wrote. You just wrote, won't have more wins than Colorado went for a walk somewhere. Like, what did Colorado do next? Hey, Rico, do you think any conference should have been given more than 3 spots in the playoffs, and should a 3-win team make it in? 3-win team. I don't know what that's about. And 3 spots in the playoffs. Any conference for more than 3 slots? I don't think so. Personally, no. I also like Dylan Wright at TCU. He just needs more targets and opportunity. Oh, 100%. You know, we're going to talk about it here. You need talent. And no doubt in my mind, TCU has talent at wide receiver. Thanks for the chat. Shout out to TikTok. TCU's wide receivers, JP Richardson looks like an insurance salesman. I'm sure this picture is probably not going to be too flattering of him. Yeah, this guy just looks like he's nothing. Bro's a baller. It's one of the best. Sorry for the screen went blank there. One of the very best wide receivers at Oklahoma State a couple years back before he transferred to TCU. He's a good player. And you have Eric McAllister coming in from Boise State. Professional, stud. Can't be covered. Eric McAllister is the X factor here. This wide receiver room is sneaky good. When you see a guy like JoJo Earl, 3rd string, and that's a transfer from Alabama, you know how good these players are. I think they're very senior Latin. I think they're sneaky good. I know this. Eric McAllister's better than any receiver at Colorado. Right there. Eric McAllister's better than any receiver at Colorado. And he's at TCU. And he's there, and he was leaving his old coach, and his old coach got hired as the defensive coordinator or linebackers coach or something. He didn't want to play for him. But the problem is they have Josh Hoover at quarterback, and he can't quite get it done. Hoover is fine. I know a lot of the TCU fans were excited when Hoover got the starting job because he started playing better than anything you had. But I'm telling you, if Hoover sucks, pun intended, if Hoover sucks, Ken Sills can become your starter. Ken Sills, former Vanderbilt quarterback, he's got some starting potential in him. But either way, neither of the quarterbacks are elite compared to some of the other elite teams, and that's what's holding back this wide receiver room. Very UCF-like wide receiver room. Different caliber quarterback. But Hoover does spread the ball around. He does throw it. So we'll see what happens. I like this wide receiver room. I'm really tempted to say they are honorable mention. Ain't nothing stopping me. I can do that. Who cares? I did it. All right. Let's go back. We're almost done. Hang in there, y'all. We're in the T's. We're in the T's, and we're at the good teams. Temple. Bad wide receiver room at Temple. Even worse, quarterback position. It's gonna be terrible. It's gonna be a bad team. Temple's gonna be worse than they have been, and they haven't been good. Okay, probably one of the worst teams in America. Tennessee Volunteers. All right. For my money, Tennessee's got to make the list. Let's go see where we're at. Where do they make it? Are they better than... So are they better than South Carolina? They have a better quarterback that's going to complete passes. I think they're better than South Carolina. I might even say they almost look better than Missouri because Chris Brazzell coming in is an X factor. He's like 6'5" and can beat you over the top. Brew McCoy is a possession wide receiver, really. Squirrel White's good. Deontay Thornton, the Oregon transfer, was supposed to be a deep threat. Obviously, Mike Matthews as a freshman, 5-star. But all those 5-star guys need to be 3rd and 4th string anyways, right? Squirrel White is him. Man, it's subjective as hell, but I'm going to leave them out. They're the first one out. And it's not going to matter because Texas is going to push South Carolina out anyways. Okay? So it's just not going to matter. But very good wide receiver room at Tennessee. Probably 12 to 13 range in the whole country. Not bad. I know some people will be upset, but it's not bad. Texas. First and foremost, Matthew Golden is not as good as they make him out to be. Just let you know now. But Quinn Ewers is great. So Quinn Ewers is going to get the ball to your guys. They got tight ends, but it's all about Jonte Cook, Ryan Wingo. They're young talent. But Isaiah Bond is a known commodity, and Silas Bolden is very good. I don't think they're better than Missouri. Yeah, they are. They're not better than Ohio State or Georgia, though. See, the websites, recruiting websites, try to convince you guys that Matthew Golden is one of the top wide receivers in the transfer portal when he wasn't one of the best. He wasn't the best wide receiver on his own team, right? Sam Brown was the best wide receiver at Houston, and he transferred to Miami. So, but in the winter, they went and ranked Matthew Golden so high that they tried to fool everyone into thinking, oh my God, we got the number 1 wide receiver in the portal. You didn't. We got the no, stop. It's not like that. Isaiah Bond wasn't even the leading receiver at Alabama. It's not. It's second leading receivers from teams. Talented players. I don't think they're better than Georgia. I don't. I'm going to put them behind Georgia. And if I put them behind Georgia, I'm putting them behind Ohio State. Then they're ahead of Arizona. That's Texas. And that moves South Carolina to the honorable mention. And that's unfortunate, because I really like them. Really like them a lot. All right. Good stuff. Texas is loaded at receiver. Literally 6 guys better than anything you can get anywhere else. Kind of, sort of. A&M. Ja'Day Walker, Division II transfer. Cyrus Allen, transfer from, I want to say, SMU La Tech. Jabri Barbie, transfer from Troy, 999 yards receiving, La Tech. Like I said, just wanted to double check my own stats here. So all studs that are good as backups. It's just not that sharp, man. It's just not good enough to talk about. It's not even honorable mention. It really isn't. For me. It's really not honorable mention. It's not bad. Texas State. Cole Wilson. Hey, Cole Wilson was a great FCS wide receiver. So was, hey, hold up. Hey, Texas State, bruh. They're getting on my list. Hey, shit got crazy, bro. Hold up now. All right, listen to me. Cole Wilson, FCS stud at UIW. Drew Donnelly is the White Lightning, okay? Transfer from Cincinnati, runs a 4.3 40, probably the fastest player on the team. Billy Joe Hobart's son, Joey Hobart, FCS All-American, transfers in. And then Bo Sparks is the same dude. These 3 guys are all the same. Look, I bet they all look like brothers. Hold on. I bet they even got pictures of these dudes. Hold on. Joey Hobart. This little dude right here is fast. He's open everywhere. Started at Washington State. His dad was an NFL quarterback. If you don't know who Billy Joe Hobart was, my bad. That's like not knowing, I don't know. Think of a journeyman white guy right now in the NFL. His dad was the journeyman in the 90s, okay? Bo Sparks. Look at that. I only got a picture of him. But 5'11", 175. 5'11", 180, okay? And then Drew Donnelly, 6'2". Drew Donnelly's bigger. 6'2", 180. All right. When I tell you you can't cover these 3 Wes Welker dudes, this is funny. They all look the same to me. Just a bunch of little white dudes. They're bad as hell. Texas State got a badass wide receiver room. Group of 5? Oh, man, they're good. Hey, I don't know about this PJ Hatter dude. This is not their... They got Jordan McLeod. This ain't their quarterback room. This is what I'm talking about. They got an amazing running back room. Ishmael Mahdi is the fastest running back in college football. And Deion Hankins just transferred in. So did Torrance Burgess. They both came in from UTEP. These are good players, man. This is a good team. Jordan McLeod at quarterback. All 3 running backs can play ball. These are studs. Stud running backs. Like Ishmael Mahdi's going to transfer to a Power 5 team next year and get paid. And he's going to be a running back at Ole Miss or something. Remember this live stream. I won't let you forget it. We'll find it. Ishmael Mahdi's going to transfer to Baylor. He's going to transfer to Texas Tech, SMU. He's going to go get paid after this season. He's amazing. But those little wide receivers right here, hey, I'm letting y'all know now, Texas State got 3 white dudes. Bad as hell. I watched all the tape. Holy smokes. Sometimes I forget, man. Sometimes I forget. They all look the same to me on tape, bro. I don't mean to be like that. They all look the same. I don't mean to be like that. Oh, snap. I got to make a group of 5 honorable mention list. That's what I got to make. Texas Tech. Texas Tech wide receivers are comparable to anything Colorado has. Texas Tech wide receivers are amazing. You know, one of the violations Colorado got in their recruiting this year was they tried to recruit Josh Kelly. They did a grade transfer. They did a transcript transfer transcript pull on Joshua Kelly before he hit the transfer portal, which is illegal. So they were tampering early, and they had to self-report themselves. If you were looking at their level 3 violations this offseason, Colorado had to report that they tried to get Joshua Kelly. This is a former wide receiver at Fresno State, went to Washington State, and now he's at Texas Tech. Caleb Douglas just transferred in from Florida. He's good player. Dre McCray, one of my favorite players. I hope he breaks out this year. But when you see Dre McCray on the second line, that's crazy. This is an FCS All-American out of Austin Peay. Speed demon. Used to be a state champ in the 100 meters. Dre McCray is him. And then you have Micah Hudson over here, 5-star. 5-star wide receiver, their first time getting a 5-star wide receiver. They have a great wide receiver coach. They have great wide receivers at Texas Tech. They're sneaky good. They're on the list. I'm telling you, when Dre McCray is your 4th guy, your team is loaded. When you got 5-stars not making it into 2 deep, your team is loaded. That's a really healthy wide receiver room. Very good. I don't know if Byron Morton's going to get him the ball. I don't know. Oh, by the way, Cameron Dickey, probably the best running back nobody talks about. Obviously, Taj Brooks, a 1,500-yard rusher. He's going to be great. Cameron Dickey is one of the leading rushers out of Austin. He played high school ball in the Austin area, or San Antonio area. Austin or San Antonio? San Antonio? Austin. Austin. I knew it. Should never doubt myself. I did a film review on him, and he looked better than some of the 5-star running backs in the state. I really like that kid. That kid right there. Cameron Valdez hit the transfer portal, came back to the team. This team they look good, man. They look good. Wide receiver room's loaded. Texas Tech wide receiver room's good. Let's keep going. Wow, I can't believe that. Whoops, I forgot about the Texas State one. That's crazy. Oh, I'm gonna love the UTEP one too. Toledo. Let's look at it. Jawan Newton's still there. It's a good player. Pretty loaded. Tucker Gleason needs to get them the ball, and he's not a bad quarterback, California kid. But Jawan Newton's special. I don't know. I might have to look a little deeper. They feel like they're worth mentioning at the group of 5 level. Jawan Newton's good. It's a good wide receiver. NFL caliber type dude. At Toledo. Next one is Troy. It's unfortunate. Chris Lewis has cancer. I don't know how that's going to work out. He's special. He's an NFL caliber wide receiver, one of the best. I don't know how it's going to work out for him. Everybody else for Troy at wide receiver doesn't pop on tape for me, and I've watched him at length. I've tried to find positive things about him. A lot of this has to do with, is Goose Crowder going to get him the ball? What is this going to look like in the season? I'm not sure. I'll have to talk to Evan Kramer, and he'll let me know what he thinks, but I'm not sure on Troy. The wide receiver room doesn't look good. Wide receivers here, Mario Williams, Yokeith Brown, Chaz Preston. Hey, pretty decent, bro. Pretty good. Yokeith Brown is special. That's a transfer from A&M. Obviously, Mario Williams, transfer from Oklahoma, USC. These are all good players. Bringing them in. New head coach. Ty Thompson is not the starting quarterback. I think that Kai Horton's going to be the starter. Ty Thompson, transfer from Oregon. Turns out he's not as good as you guys all thought because of the recruiting stars. Doesn't matter who's the starting quarterback, though. Their running back, Mekhi Hughes, was the greatest true freshman running back last year in the country, and no one talks about it. He was the leading rusher of all true freshmen. I want to say he had 1,200 or 1,300 yards last year. Mekhi Hughes was him, and people ignored it, and they won't next year. They won't next year. There's no way. This is a team run by John Summerall, and if you don't know, John Summerall is the former Troy head coach. So what you saw from Kamani Vidal, you're going to see from Hughes here at Tulane. So I'm excited about that move. Shout out to them. Let's keep going. I'll get back to the chat once I finish. I think we're going to just stomach through it all. Hang in there, guys. Tulsa wide receiver room got ravaged. Their best receivers went to Houston. Doesn't look good. I like Kirk Francis. Cardell Williams didn't play great down the stretch. He initially played great. He didn't play great down the stretch. Kirk Francis played good. They're bringing in a Utah State quarterback, so they will have competition at quarterback to try to get the ball to these guys. This is the X factor for me is Braylon Presley. If you don't know Braylon Presley, this was one of the all-time greatest high school running backs in the history of football. Okay? Never lost a game in high school. Was at Bixby. Won every state title with his brother, Brendan Presley, who plays at Oklahoma State. This is his little brother. And little, he's like 5'6". But he's Barry Sanders, bro. He's Barry Sanders. Go look at his tape. His huddle tape is second to none. Braylon Presley's huddle tape is one of my top 10 huddle tapes of all time. Just a truly special running back. And he couldn't make it at Oklahoma State as a running back. They asked him to move to slot. And here he is. He's at slot at Tulsa as well. He wanted to play running back. It just doesn't work out. He's too small. But if you ever wanted to watch a player and watch tape and learn about a player, Braylon Presley out of Bixby, Oklahoma, Barry Sanders, just too small. But I'm really hoping he eventually has breakout games and becomes somebody. I really am. Because he's special, man. He's really good. I like that kid. Shout out to him. He will be my deep hidden gem on Tulsa when it's time to make the video. UAB lost a wide receiver to the portal, and a couple of them. UAB's got the potential to be very good. Jamoy Mays, I think he left. I thought he jumped back in the portal and left. FCS All-American. Showed up, but it doesn't matter. They have players, bro. They got players, and they're good. And Jacob Zeno, everybody's trying to figure out how to play for this man. Trent Dilfer. Everybody's trying to figure out how to play for Trent Dilfer. One thing is pretty significant here is I've been told Isaiah Jacobs is not a locker room guy. I've been told he's a piece of work, and that's Josh Jacobs' little brother. And a lot of guys on the team don't like him, but he's the best running back they got. He's good. So they made another running back transfer to ULM. They have good players. Octavius Brothers just came in from UCF, I believe. Hoping for the best. They're always really fun to watch for me. I always want to cheer for them. Shout out to UAB. I want them to win. They're in a hotbed of talent. There's no excuse for them not to win, and they somehow find a way not to win. UCLA's wide receiver room leaves a lot to be desired, but I think they're pretty decent, like talent-wise. Michael Sturdivant is very good. Former leading receiver at Cal, shows up, and he dominates, and he's good. Titus McCoy, not bad. Logan Loya. It's always like, and I don't mean to sound rude. Listen. I grew up in Southern California. The black players that go to UCLA tend to be like the richer kids, and they're like half white, half black, kind of athletic, but not. I'm just calling it what it is. So like back when I was young, they always just had some light-skinned dude. And you'd be like, oh, he's not quite all that. Like, he's okay. But he's not the same as, like, Kareem Kelly. He's not the same as Darryl Rideau, Reggie Bush. Like USC was getting the real players. So they always get some dudes who are just kind of soft and not quite it. And I don't mean to say this and make it like a racial thing. I'm just telling you the truth, man. I'm telling you what we used to say as kids growing up, right? Like, when we were growing up, USC had a running back, and his name was Sultan McCullough. And then he was replaced by Herschel Dennis, Long Beach Poly kids. And, dudes from Pasadena Muir and Obie Moore and that type of school. And we got track runners named Quincy Watts. And then you get to UCLA, and it was like, oh, well, who do they got? Well, they got Michael White. They got Manuel White. You know, it was always, they were getting some kid from Northern California. Maurice Jones-Drew. It was always some soft-ass shit when we were getting other players. So, I'm just keeping it real. I'm telling you. So, UCLA, obviously, Deshaun Foster's the new head coach. I want him to go out and get all the best players he can. He has a lot of credibility when it comes to getting running backs. And he's going to find the right ones, and I think they're a running back-led team. Wide receiver room, not very good. Not very good. And they might even have a tough time winning games. I initially thought they were going to do well, but after looking at them for a while, it's tough. UNLV wide receiver room, top-notch, bro. Top-notch. You can't tell me nothing. I'm going to make a group of 5 list on this thing. I'm doing it. Hold up. I have it in college football. I have top wide receiver rooms in college football, and then underneath that, I'm going to have group of 5. Group. Maybe they get their own post. Group of 5 wide receiver rooms. Top 10 group of 5 wide receiver rooms. Colorado State. And then right there is UNLV. And it's really because of Ricky White. Ricky White is amazing. He's an NFL wide receiver, and he's special. Jacob DeJesus is always open. Shout out to me telling the MVPs to bet on his ladder in the bowl game, and it worked out for us. Casey Kane just transferred in, and I don't know Damon McDaniel. I need to look at his tape, but it doesn't matter. Once you have this 1-2 punch like this, it's real. It's a problem. And then you have Matthew Sluka going to be doing the damn thing, and Matthew Sluka is him. And Cameron Frail played great in the spring game. Good for him, but he's not Matthew Sluka. Sluka's a back-to-back 1,200-yard rusher. Back-to-back 1,200-yard rusher as a quarterback. White dude. Holy cross. And then you look at the running backs, and Jaden Thomas just keeps scoring touchdowns. Shout out to Westlake. Georgia. You go from Georgia all the way to UNLV. You better go ball. You better go ball. And Jaden Jet Thomas did his damn thing. And we go to USC wide receiver room. How are they not even mentioned? Do you know how good these guys are? Zachariah Branch, Kyron Hudson, Deuce Robinson. Very, very good. I'm going to leave them off for now. But I think it's going to be silly because one day Zachariah Branch is Deshaun Jackson. Zachariah Branch is all those guys. And to leave him off is silly. And Deuce Robinson is a former 5-star tight end, best tight end in the country. They moved him to wide receiver. He's just that athletic. This seems silly to ignore these guys. It really does. I'm just going to say that. I think I should put him down. Honorable mention just based off of that alone. I think I should. Excuse me. Sorry about that, guys. I usually don't make lists while I'm doing the show, but I'm doing it because we're all here. Let's talk about it. Utah wide receivers. Here's what we know. We know Dorian Singer couldn't start at USC last year, and he's magically back in the starting lineup. Micah Pittman transfer from Oregon, Florida State, over to Utah. Utah losing Mikey Matthews to Cal. Money Parks is there. Tayshawn Lyons, I looked up his tape. He didn't play. Where's he from? Oregon? Washington, yeah, I remember now. He didn't play. I looked up his tape, though, because I had never seen him play. All in all, it's a decent wide receiver room. It's not anything to write home about. It's not very good. It's not amazing. But what you have is you have decent running backs. It's unfortunate. You had an injury in Woods, right? You had a good running back coming in from Idaho, and he's injured now. But you got Cam Rising. You have Landon King. By the way, you guys want to know a stud? It's Landon King right here. It is a wide receivers. These tight ends are great. These tight ends are great. If you include the tight ends, they have a very respectable room. But we're not doing it. I'm not going to go back and redo everybody and add a tight end. I'm not going to do it. Utah State, not a good wide receiver room. I can tell you that right now. Oh, no, I shouldn't say that. Hey, hold up. Jalen Royals is him. They might even make it on the list down there. Jalen Royals is him. I like Jalen Royals. All right. Good player, deep threat. Think he averaged something crazy in yards. I don't know. UTEP. They might not know UTEP. Oh, they do. They have UTEP in here. They have some transfers. So UTEP's got a transfer coming in, Jaden Smith from Eastern Kentucky, and then all their transfers are coming in from Austin P. No. Austin P? Where were they all coming from? Am I? Yeah, Austin P. I'm right. Shout out to Trey Goodman and Norcross, Georgia. Georgia, Grayson, Georgia. Like, they got it going on. It's all about Javon Jackson at running back, though. He's going to carry this team. Okay? This is a complete stud of a player. FCS, they brought in all their kids. They brought in all their players. Trey Dunston transferring in, stud. I like UTEP a lot. I think UTEP's going to be a different team than people are used to seeing, and they're one of my deep hidden gems when it comes to improvement with the transfer portal. I think I'm going to write down UTEP's wide receiver room as honorable mention in the group of 5, just so you guys know. Right up there with Utah State and them. They might even make the top 10. You never know. So I like UTEP a lot. UTSA wide receivers, it looks like a huge drop-off from the last 2 years. I'm looking at it right now. I haven't watched the tape on everybody, but I do know them. I mean, I know the team, right? And a lot of this is they had Power 5 guys. They had NFL guys, and they're gone. Franklin's gone. Who's the kid who just played great last year? I know his name. I'm saying it. Is it not Deuce? Forgetting his name right now. But that's crazy. I can't do that. Not Cephas. Cephas. Right? It's crazy, though. I like David Amador. I watched his tape when he was coming out. I just don't think that they're as good. I actually don't think they have a better wide receiver room than Texas State. And that's saying something. I don't think they have a better wide receiver room than Texas State. And I know they get dogs. I know they get players. It's nuts. Vanderbilt just lost their 2 leading receivers, backfilled with nothing that I'm excited about. I wouldn't say Vanderbilt's worth talking about in the wide receiver room. Shout out to the new New Mexico State, which is what Vanderbilt is. Virginia Cavaliers obviously lost their leading receiver. They still have Fields. They have Chris Tyree coming in. I don't like this wide receiver room. Don't think it's very good and not worth mentioning in the ACC. Yes, they have some players coming in, but it's not comparable to what they lost. Virginia Tech wide receiver room. Hey. Honorable mention for sure. Honorable mention for sure. Virginia Tech. When you start looking at this team, DeQuan Felton came in from Norfolk. He's an FCS transfer. He's a problem. You can't cover him all that well. Allie Jennings, former leading receiver at ODU 2 years ago. Got injured last year, but he's still a complete stud. Jalen Lane, former leading receiver at Middle Tennessee State. Coming in, complete stud. With those 3 alone, you have a very, very competent wide receiver room. Just those 3. If we're talking about starting 3, it's very good. With Kyron Drones, the box is going to be full with a dual threat quarterback and Bishal Tutton. It's cool, man. I like it. I think Virginia Tech has a room worth talking about. So I put them honorable mention. You got some studs that came in from other schools a while ago. Sorry, guys, we're getting there. And then I'll get to the chat one last time and we'll wrap it up. I know we've been here a while. There you go. Horatio Fields. Everybody talking about him. Taylor Moore in the transfer. Not a transfer. Whoa. Merrill Walker's the transfer. Walker Merrill, the transfer from Tennessee. All in all, I'm sure you guys like it. I think it's underwhelming, but I'm sure some people are fans of it. Wake Forest wide receiver room doesn't move me like that. Washington, they just got Green from Arizona. It looks bare. I don't like Washington's wide receiver room. It almost looks like a group of 5 wide receiver room. Not good enough to compete in the Big Ten. Washington State might be sneaky good. Nope. And nope again. Oh, I like Trey Shackelford, but nah. Nope. Not worth mentioning. Let's keep going. Washington State. West Virginia. So, West Virginia getting Jaden Bray from Oklahoma State is a pretty good get. Traylon Ray is he's the gem of the class, right? As a true freshman, he started playing out of his mind later in the season. He's hard to cover. Dude, 6'3". They just need to learn to get him the ball more often. They obviously have one of the best rushing attacks in the world, and they have a dual-threat quarterback that can do it all. They have Jaheim White, superstar true freshman as well. C.J. Donaldson, converted tight end, now playing running back. Good in the red zone, scoring every single touchdown. Cole Taylor, transferred from LSU at tight end. I like a lot of what they do and how they do it. Hudson Clement earned a scholarship after being a walk-on. Shout out to West Virginia. Also went to the same high school as Tyson Bagent. That's where I learned about him. When I look at this team, though, I see potential, but I don't think they're there until maybe another year or two. Give me 2 more years. 2 more years, they'd be in the top 10 conversation if they can keep Traylon Ray on the team. 2 more years. When he's a junior, let's wait till next year. They'll be in the conversation. They'll be there at the rate they're going. So the good players, just not quite worth mentioning right now. Good players. Western Kentucky, always known for their wide receiver room. Not anymore. Not any good. Nothing I'm excited about. Nope. Nope, nope, and nope again. Shout out to Caden Veltkamp. He was going to transfer and leave. Then played out of his mind in the bowl game, so he stayed. Excuse me for a second. I have to X that at the bottom down there because now I got to reach the very bottom teams. We're down to 3 teams, and I can tell you right now, Wisconsin's got a loaded wide receiver room. Worth mentioning. There he is. There's Kenneth Womack. Where was I thinking? Oh, it's Western Michigan. Remember I said, where's the little guy? It's Kenneth Womack. So he's a hell of a player. The rest of these guys, no. Kenneth Womack, number 9. Only dude open for Western Michigan. Remember that. I thought he was at Central Michigan. That's on me. Kenneth Womack. Monster. Little guy. Always open. Bet the over on his yards if you get a chance. And we know Wyoming's not there, so we'll go to Wisconsin last. Wisconsin wide receiver room. The way you know it's good is C.J. Williams is still not starting. Which is nuts. And they just got Joseph Griffin from Boston College, who was Boston College's second leading receiver. So Will Pauling is an alpha male NFL wide receiver. Tretch is a former, where did he play high school at? Bishop Gorman in Vegas. Before that, he was in Hawaii playing out of his mind. But Tretch is so fast, man. These guys are both very good. These two right here. C.J. Williams, former USC, modern-day wide receiver. Love everything about him. Quincy Burrows came in and transferred from Cincinnati. Bryson Green, transfer. These guys all look like studs, bro. Terrell Henry just transferred in. I think he's a kickoff returner, punt returner from Michigan State. I got to write him down. I believe in them. So those are all the wide receiver rooms in America. I hope you guys learned about them. But my top 10, now that it's final, I'll bring it into the chat. I'll show it to you guys here. Now that we've checked all the teams, look at the graphic below. My top 10 is Oregon, Miami, Ole Miss, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, Arizona, and Missouri. Those are my top 10 wide receiver rooms in America. Honorable mentions: South Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia Tech, North Carolina State, Iowa State, Colorado, Kansas, Oklahoma State, Colorado State. I'm going to take Colorado State off because I'm going to put them down below. And I'm going to finish that chart before I post this. Cincinnati, Indiana, Louisville, LSU, Memphis. I can take them off. Minnesota, SMU. Pardon me. Give me a second here. TCU, UCF, Texas State, Texas A&M, Texas Tech, USC, Virginia Tech, and Wisconsin. Thanks for watching the show, guys. I hope you learned about wide receiver rooms. And remember, your friends don't know, but I'm going to go back to the chat real quick. Whoa. Rico, would you say off the top of your head has the best wide receiver freshman class? Who would I say? Connor, I really don't have one. I don't care about freshman wide receivers. They don't make the too deep, or at least they shouldn't, and it really doesn't matter to me. Whoever it is, they're not playing, and they're probably not going to play. They're going to redshirt and transfer before we ever see them. So it's wasted energy for me to study something like that. I don't even bother. Let me know when they're in the too deep. That's where I'm at on that. O.J. Simpson, yeah, USC, getting the real ones. Shout out to the Badgers. I'm still confused. Who did he say has a better wide receiver room than Colorado in the Big 12? Jeremy Mitchell. Who has a better wide receiver room than Colorado in the Big 12? Well, Arizona's in the top 10, so obviously Arizona. That's number one. Who else in the Big 12? Let's see. Iowa State, Kansas, Oklahoma State, Cincinnati. Those are all Big 12 teams. TCU, UCF. I don't think you guys study Big 12 wide receivers from a talent perspective. I think you might study them from a statistical perspective, and you have it very wrong. It's from a talent perspective. We had tryouts tomorrow. Those guys have better players. That's why they win on Saturdays. That's why your team built of hype post and all the posts online, like all the well-off videos in the world aren't going to win you a game on Saturday. All the workout videos you watch in the world aren't going to win you a game on Saturday. The other teams are working out. The other teams have NFL coaches and coaches with NFL experience too. Every team you want to talk about is better coached, better prepared, lifting more weights. They do everything better. It's funny that the team you're a fan of shows you every video on it, but it's obvious the other teams are doing better because on Saturday they show up and win. So it's obvious they worked out all offseason and they have just better everything. It's not even comparable. And it's sad when people come in here and do stuff like, well, who do you say is better than them for the Big 12? They're like the ninth or 10th best team in the Big 12. Period. There's no way to debate that. There's no way to talk about it. They're either going to be in the 8th, 9th, 10th spot in the conference standings when it's all said and done. So talk all you guys want. Listen, I give predictions that matter because I advise gamblers, and gamblers have to be accurate in order to win, and I have to be accurate in order to make a living. This is not fandom. This is not me making a video going, ha ha, I was right. I have to say something and it be factual, or I lose my members. I'm not talking about followers. I'm not talking about viewers. I'm talking about people who pay me every single month for the right answer to the quiz. I get paid $25 a month by thousands of people to be right. Not to be about, oh, this fandom and this, that. No. To be right. I have to be accurate. Last year, it was Colorado's going to win 4 games is what I said. You can go see my prediction on Boston College's winning games, Minnesota winning games. I was accurate on all of them. You have to be accurate when you do what I do. Now, I could make a video on TikTok right now and say Alabama's going to lose every home game. They're going to go 7-5 and lose every home game. Because that's what I did last year. I made that video, and Alabama fans ate it up and got mad and told me I don't know what I'm talking about and all this. But if you were a gambler and you watched my picks every week, you know I picked Alabama to cover the spread every single one of those games that I thought they were going to lose. I have to be accurate. Let me show you guys something. Give me a second here. Let's just go to a random week. Here's week, and I just pulled up a week here. Here's week 8, where I went 13-9. 13-9 against the spread, and I picked certain teams to win and cover the spread. Okay? And I missed on Oklahoma and UCF. I missed on Tennessee. But I got it right on Ole Miss. Do you think if I made a video and I said Ole Miss is going to cover the spread against Auburn, or I said Auburn's going to upset Ole Miss, a lot of you TikTokers and YouTubers think, oh, Rico thinks this, that, or the other. Rico hates Ole Miss. There's a ton of guys out there right now who think I hate Ole Miss. But here I am picking Ole Miss. You guys got to understand that when I go pick these games, it's about, and I had a bad week in week 7. See all the red? If I have red, guys, I lose. I lose if I have red. But let's go here. When I had these, and they're in order by confidence. You bet the top ones. You don't bet the bottom ones. That's how we do it. But if you wanted to see me pick all these picks, I'm picking Florida State to beat Clemson, Texas to beat Baylor, South Carolina. So when I'm picking these teams, you guys got to know, it's not about fandom. I got to be right. I got to be right. And during the bowl season, when we got to bowl games, 65%, 66% against the spread. You want to be a gambler? 66% against the spread in bowl games. Championship week in bowl games. 66%, 31-16. It's not about fandom. It's not about all that bullshit you guys are talking about. It's about putting it on wax, putting it in front of people in 4K, and letting them see that I can say I picked 59.53% of the games against the spread over 400 games picked. I have to be that accurate on every single team in America. I don't give a shit about your fandom. I don't care about your debate on who you think is the best. I have to be right. My job's not easy. I'm wrong, I lose members. I'm right. And I'm right more than you guys could ever imagine. Will Pauling for Heisman. Well, if he's going to win the Heisman, it's going to be whoever's throwing him the ball. But shout out to you, Tri Glasson. Bendejo says, what happened to Dorian Singer last year? What happened is he got to USC and he found out he wasn't as talented as they anticipated. You know, you can get a lot of stats and a lot of reps at a particular school. Think of Colorado's leading receiver, Xavier Worthy or something, right? You can be the leading receiver at Colorado, but that doesn't mean you can even start at Oregon or USC. Nope, you transfer and you're not good enough to play over there. You can be the starter at one school and not good enough to play at another, and Dorian Singer found that out the hard way. He was a starter and he was great, but what Dorian Singer was doing was he was getting the JSN treatment when he was at Arizona. And I'm saying the JSN treatment, he was getting the third best corner. Remember, when he played at Arizona, the other receivers were Jacob Cowing, a stud, and T-Mac. So the best corners are going on T-Mac and Jacob Cowing, and Dorian Singer's eating up whoever's in front of him, beating the third best corner on every single team. Now you get to USC, you're not even good enough to be that guy. You're not the starter. You're not anything. You got all your stats against no one. So it doesn't really impress, and he doesn't make it. Can't get the separation, not fast enough, not good enough. It's the reality of the situation. And then USC, Taj Gibson, right? And Brennan Rice. These are 7th-round draft pick wide receivers. Not even superstars. 7th-round draft picks. And then you get passed by this 5-star kid who's amazing. And that's kind of where talent matters versus production. So a lot of you guys quote production all day long, but that would never happen on another team, right? We learned that with Zakai Franklin leaving Texas, UTSA, Texas, San Antonio, 90 receptions, 1,000 yards, all this shit. Got to Ole Miss, wasn't in the top 5 wide receivers. Wasn't in the 6 deep at wide receiver. Wasn't the same. We don't care how many stats you used to get. We got practice, bro. We got to line up and play each other. And that's what I'm saying is there's just talent to this. There's levels to this. Thanks, Rico. No problem, man. Hey, thanks for being here, guys. I hope you learned something. I'm going to have to just proofread my group of 5 ones, and then I'm going to post this on Twitter. I hope you're following me on Twitter. Remember, RicoKnows TikTok, all one word. RicoKnows TikTok. I'm on Twitter, and I'm working all day. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Peace.